The field is set, and the return to the World Center of Racing is finally here for the 5th time in series history for the opener. Tonight marks step number 1 on the road to a championship. We're live from the virtual Daytona International Speedway in Daytona Beach, Florida. We welcome you to the very first race of Season 5 in the 4-Wide Racing Cup Series and the TJ's Team 250. Welcome back to 4-Wide Racing action, and welcome back to our coverage right here on MaxSpeedTV. We're atop the virtual Daytona International Speedway in the broadcast booth. My name is Kenneth Bueno. There is a lot to talk about from 1 week ago, especially the duels that took place a little while back, where we had 2 different winners and everybody else setting the grid with their average finishing positions in both Duel 1 and Duel 2. So a lot of what could be seen possibly here tonight from the virtual Daytona International Speedway in this race, and it is 100 laps, so there is going to be a longer stretch to the finish, but those duels did show us how tense the field could get in super speedway action. There's a lot of drivers to focus on. Of course, defending champion Lawson Peel coming fresh off of that title season in his rookie campaign back in season number 4. We've got also other champions in the series, returning favorites, and a lot of drivers still hungry for their very first championship or their very first win, and it could come right here in the first race and lock them in to the 2022 playoffs. Speaking of the playoffs, we're going to have that later on in the campaign, but we'll take a look first as to where we're going to head after Daytona International Speedway tonight, what our Season 5 schedule looks like for the 4-Wide Racing Cup Series. Of course, we had those duels set the grid 1 week ago for this TJ's Team 250 that we will have here tonight. A lot of pressure on the field to do well in this opening race to try and get into a possibility at a chance for a championship, and then to look at all the other tracks that we'll have on the schedule. A lot of returning favorites, some new placements with tracks that have featured in previous seasons, and of course a brand new season finale venue in the homestead of Miami Speedway after a couple of seasons of flip-flopping the tracks, a lot of them being those intermediate style speedways. We head to Michigan 1 week from tonight for the second race of the season, and we head to Nashville Superspeedway, Watkins Glen, Las Vegas, Road America, Richmond, and so many other tracks. You see some of the road courses also making their return to the schedule. Watkins Glen did as well. Of course, Circuit of the Americas, which provided a fantastic finish at the end and a lot of strategy as well. So a lot of things to talk about with the diversity of the schedule. We do have some of the same placements returning, such as Daytona being the regular season finale. That's been the same for a couple of seasons. Homestead Miami being the finale. That's been on the schedule a couple of times, but this is the first time in a while, or pretty much ever, that it is pretty much the place where the driver is going to be hosting that championship trophy at the end of it all. But our journey starts tonight. Our journey starts in Daytona Beach, Florida, and if you're a stock car racing fan, chances are you need no proper introduction as to what this track is all about. Daytona International Speedway out in Daytona Beach, Florida. It is a super speedway style track in a D-oval configuration, 2.5 miles long, 4.023 kilometers in length, opened all the way back in 1959, and it is the quintessential place to go racing, even if you're not an oval racing fan. The Daytona 500 held here every single year, the Rolex 24 endurance race on the road course as well. You also have some motocross and a lot of other events that take place at this very large track. You've got 31 degrees of banking in each and every one of the corners, 18 degrees in that trioval to the start finish line, 2 degrees on the back straightaway, and that's exactly how we will set, or at least the stage will be, by the time we get to that coveted green flag. Well, warm-up has just come to a close. Qualifying session not going to be in play tonight just because the field already set themselves through in the duels 1 week ago. We do know that the winners in each of the duels were Steven Stepien in his number 81 machine, or his number 8 machine, and Joe Sanchez in the 55. So those two going to share the starting grid in the front row, going to be the first two to see the green flag in this TJ's Team 250 from Daytona. What is our time now to set your starting grid, see exactly where every driver and your favorite driver will be lining up here tonight in our first of many races in Season 5 of the 4-Wide Racing Cup Series. Steven Stepien with the win in duel number 1. He gets the top spot out of the rest of the field. He will have control of the race when we take the green. Joe Sanchez, winner in duel number 2, will be on his outside in row number 1. Everybody third on back, set by the average finishing position in each of the 2 duels. It'll be Brandon Colley, one of the star drivers in each of the 2 duels, not to get a win, but he will start inside row number 2 in third, and he will have official rookie full-time driver Jaden Porter in the number 28 for Bakayal Bueno Racing to his outside. Ken MacArthur in the number 97 starts inside the top 5. He will have Eric Schaefer in the number 3, 4-time winner last season in P number 6. P7 will go to rookie driver Rodney Roberts in the number 20 machine. Shane Wyatt returning to the series after a long absence. He rolls off in P8. Final 2 drivers in the top 10. CJ Winier in the 89, the number 1 of Lance Hill, winner from last season as well. Cedric Hunter in the number 31, promising runs in each of the duels. He runs 11th at the drop of the green. He'll have defending series champion Lawson Peel with a lot on his shoulders in this first race tonight. It'll be P13 for Christopher Bishop, P14 for the number 54 of Brandon T. Banks. Runner A will feature league owner Tyler Murray in a new number 16. Michael Newbraw on the 6 will be to his outside in P16. Eric Stewart, Adam Alishire to double up in row number 9. Colin Forster, AJ Green, the 99 and the 48. Switching teams this time around, but still great friends out of the racetrack, still heavy competitors. They are the last 2 drivers inside the top 20. Craig Lownslugger entered the championship 5 one season ago. He's going to look to get to the very same spot this season around as he rolls off 21st on the grid. Brandon Gillis going to have to start from 22nd. It'll be Tristan Bailey, Brady Cox 23rd and 24th. Cody Kinsey, Tyler Warner going to be 25th and 26th out of the racetrack. Jesse Priest, Kevin D'Elia, the last 2 in row number 14 to P28, followed by Austin Reedy and Tony Kibbett in the number 76. Austin Reedy, a lot of work he's got to do. He's a super speedway ace. We'll see how quickly he can pick up through the field. Chuck Keller, Ryan Taft through P32. Jason Hastings and Curtis Kelly to P34. Kyle Benson rolling deep in the field, 35th. He'll have Cody Ivey to his outside in row number 18. Danny Michel, number 25, returns to the series in 37th. Austin Bloom will be 38th. And those are the final 2 drivers in tonight's TJ's Team 250 field. So pace car out of turn 4, field ready to be led by Steven Stepien and Joe Sanchez, the 8 and the 55, who will hop closer to the start-finish line to Barney the Flagman, and we go racing for the first time in the 2022 Season 5 4-Wide Racing Cup Series from Daytona. Even out of turn 4 and even to the start-finish line, but Joe Sanchez will nose ahead for a moment with Jaden Porter to follow suit behind him back to turn 1. And you can already see the field crumpled up as quickly as they can over this first lap, and already draft proving to be huge already, as that inside and the outside have yet to see dissipation, and Steven Stepien going to get a huge shot from Brandon Colley behind him and looks to take the lead, but Joe Sanchez fighting back, still even in row number 1, back to turn 3. And this, a lot of what we saw last week in each of the duels, a lot of organization, a lot of aggression, and drivers eager to get to the front of the field early on, a philosophy that we'll talk about a little later in tonight's broadcast as we cross for lap number 3. But Joe Sanchez looking to nose ahead, Jaden Porter behind him, Lance Hill, the 3rd car in line on the top. And then Stepien, Colley, and Eric Schaefer. 3 cars, Chevy, Ford, and Chevy out on the bottom. Looks like Schaefer has had enough. He's going to back out on the apron, going to merge back, make it 3 wide. Shane White in the middle, with White will be able to follow back in track, and they are all over the place. Stepien and company going to fall back. Jaden Porter going to look for the race lead ahead of Joe Sanchez with cars to help. And you saw a stack up there, a little bit of a miscommunication as Eric Schaefer pulled out of line. Now here comes Michael Newbraw to move down to the inside. He'll have Trackhouse Racing's Adam Alishire to his backside of the number 91. And that good wrench machine, looks like they'll be the new 2 patrons up in the front. Sanchez is going to file back to 3rd on the inside. And already a little Bit of aggression earlier on. The drivers look for every bit of advantage they can get in the draft. Here's a look on board with the driver, the number 6, Michael Newbraw, who started relatively well tonight's race, finished well in each of the duels. Of course, it went by average finishing position, not necessarily quite like the normal finishing results, or at least what you would start at in the duels in the normal NASCAR Cup Series. Usually in the normal NASCAR Cup Series, they just split the field into each of the 2 duels, and wherever you finish is going to be which row and position you're going to be starting for the opening race at Daytona. But here in the 4-wide Racing Cup Series, decided to go for each of the average finishes if the driver did partake in each of the 2 duels that night. Both were 30 laps, and then they get that average finishing position, and that's where they start in tonight's TJ's Team 250, and it works to Michael Newbraw's favor. He takes the lead. Porter's going to hand it back, though, with Lance Hill to follow suit behind. Lawson Peel going to shuffle. He's the 3rd car, that Keebler machine on the outside. AJ Green in that mix as well. Colin Forster to follow suit, his number 99 machine running the Comspo colors, similar to what you see in the Trackhouse Racing of the real-life NASCAR Cup Series, and his team in a couple of cars in front of him, as I believe they're almost 3 wide behind them. That's Cedric Hunter in his number 31. One of the better cars in the dual races 1 week ago. Here's a look on board with him as he rides behind the number 11 of Brandon Colley. It looks like Michael Newbraw might have already fallen out of line and did not want anything to do with the front. So he's going to drop to the back, similar to how Eric Schaefer did in the opening laps of tonight's race. And for the moment, it's going to buckle the inside line. It's going to shuffle them a bit. And now here comes Lance Hill with a chance at the race lead against rookie driver Jaden Porter. And the number 28, Lance Hill, to the front at the start-finish line. You can already tell efficient organization through the inside line so far. Not a lot of difference in opinions from the field. It seems as though every single driver wants to maintain in line, and although some want to take the lead away, a lot of them understand the scope of it. It is a long race. 100 laps we'll have here, roughly 250 miles from the World Center of Racing. And despite some of the aggression earlier on, as Joe Sanchez moves up to the high side with Steven Stempien and Brandon Colley to give him assistance on top of the number 91 of Adam Alshire, everyone seems to be collective in their run to the front. And it has not required a lot of miscommunication as Hill gets shuffled out of line, had to swerve up in a block on Joe Sanchez. That's going to shuffle everybody in the middle. They're 3 wide with Brandon Colley there. Jaden Porter, Adam Alshire, Colin Forster in the mix, and Colley with no help apart from the 48 of AJ Green, and Porter stuck in the sucker hole in that 3rd line. And now make it almost 3 wide for the race lead. Lance Hill gets shuffled out. Sanchez moves to the front, stepping to help on the 55. Back out on command, back to turn 3. And you look at a lot of the drivers here: Sanchez, Stempien, Peel, Alshire, Lance Hill, even Michael Newbraw a couple of laps earlier wanted to be aggressive and be the drivers at the front of the field earlier on. And that's a thing that we do talk about often at not only Daytona, but you look at Talladega, you look at Atlanta Motor Speedway, which recently went under a reconfiguration to make it a super speedway pack style race. There's multiple ways to avoid the mayhem, or what we call the big one, at these larger tracks. And a lot of guys can either stay at the front and be able to avoid it by being ahead of all the mess, or be all the way in the back, have that opportunity to avoid via having more time to hit the brakes, more reaction time to slow down, and avoid potential calamity. And we're seeing a lot of guys, especially here at the front right now, as they're still collected side by side for the lead between Stempien and Sanchez back to turn 1. The way in which these guys want to get to the front in order to minimize the chance of them getting involved in crashes. But if there's one thing that we did note in each of the 2 duels 1 week ago, was that a lot of the crashes did happen at the front. A lot of the big wrecks that we saw came from bad pushes, bad blocks, and just overall swerving throughout the front of the field when it came specifically through the top 5 and the top 10. We almost saw a moment there in a poor push to Lance Hill onto Steven Stempien, And that shuffled the 8 machine to the inside lane, but he's going to be able to efficiently get ahead of the 55. And by a couple of cars, Steven Stempien, your dual one winner, back to the front at Daytona. And Stempien, a driver who had came fresh off a solid finish at the Texas Motor Speedway to close off Season 4. Not a driver we saw often in last season's edition of the 4-Wide Racing Cup Series, as Joe Sanchez finds some help from defending champion Lawson Peel. They're going to make it 2 cars on the high side, bring in more with Lance Hill, Brandon Cawley, and Jaden Porter, so they'll be able to slightly take the lead back to turn 3, although they chase up the banking, and they're going to allow Stempien and company to retaliate back on the bottom. But Stempien, a very consistent driver, and one that has worked well with the likes of Lawson Peel and others out on the racetrack, and Stempien already proving to be a heavy hitter for a new team, Lights Out Esports, this season in the 4-Wide Racing Cup Series. They've also got Shane White in the mix as well, and a couple of others. Lights Out Esports looking to become sort of the Sox Motorsports of the series and be an opening team, making their debut, and be able to immediately scorch on all cylinders and be able to take race wins and potentially run for the championship. Although Adam Alashire is going to ditch him in behind the 8. He's going to look for the race lead on his own terms with the 55 of Sanchez to help, and we are door to door back for the lead in turns 3 and 4. Alashire, a part of that Stonks Motorsports group that took multiple wins in Season 4. Alashire with a win of his own at the Watkins Glen International Circuit in New York. And Alashire immediately moving up to the lead with Sanchez to follow. Peel in 3rd, Brandon Cawley to 4th on the outside lane. And how about Brandon Gillis making his way to the front as well? There's a look on board from Gillis in the number 9 behind Brandon Cawley. You see some of the distance that he's kind of keeping between himself and that 11. That is also a purposeful move by a lot of drivers in the field. Not many want to be reeled in right behind the back bumper of somebody they don't want to be on their bumper, so much to the point where it makes their engine blow up. We've seen cars overheat here at these super speedways if you stay too long behind the driver. And so it looks like the number 9 Machine Gillis not willing to push his luck, and also a driver that did relatively well at the super speedways in the 4-Wide Racing ARCA series, if you remember that, back in early 2022. And Gillis already looking to have some of that consistency early on and be able to turn his season or his real career in the 4-Wide Racing Cup Series around. There's Rodney Roberts, a lapped car right now. He runs 36 out on the racetrack. And also to note, Austin Bloom, I don't believe he officially started this race, so he's out. The number 2 Machine, our first retiree, 37 as of lap number 14. And that outside lane has already fizzled out, leaving the inside lane to give way. And Sanchez going to be able to hold the lead. Lawson Peel behind. Steven Stempien around out your top 3. And Colin Forrester, Cedric Hunter into the top 5. And it is all single file. Everybody already looking to be a little calm this time through, as the outside hopefully has 4 to 5 cars. And our first yellow comes out, and multiple cars involved. Austin Riddy, Tyler Murray. Looks like Chuck Keller might have gotten a piece of it as well. And there's Brandon Gillis, who we saw near the front of the field at one point in tonight's event. And by one point, I mean a couple of laps ago. And Brandon Gillis with some heavy right front damage. Caution out for the first time tonight. We'll see what happened. And remember, Gillis was running 3rd on the outside lane. That's Curtis Kelly right behind him. And I think there might have been maybe a miscommunication. Curtis Kelly sends him 3 wide. Gillis with nowhere to go. But the 3rd line, and right about here, I think just gets pushed into the 96 of Austin Riddy. Kyle Benson barely escapes out on the inside of the number 10 car. And then as they stack up to try to avoid, that's Tyler Murray, Tyler Warner, Cody Ivey, and the number 81 who gets a hip check out of the 9 Machine in the aftermath of the incident. And they're caution out for the first time tonight. We'll see if we can take a look with Tyler Murray in the 16. You can tell right there, already on the slowdown for the wreck, but just gets pummeled by behind from the number 33 of Warner. And Tyler Murray with some damage, but really looks like Austin Reedy might be the biggest concern. Some right front toe link damage on his car. Remember, he had to start this race deep in the field based on the finishing positions average in duel 1 and 2. And you see right here, makes the contact with Gillis as he goes down the track. And then Reedy just gets set up into the outside wall and nothing he could do, just a passenger at that point. And Reedy, a driver that we've seen be so strong in these super speedways, most notably with Kyle Benson, the Murray Reedy Motorsports teammates. But this time by, Reedy gets dealt bad luck in the opening 16 laps of tonight's TJ's Team 250 and already has moved it down to pit road and has immediately went for that fast repair. There is one fast repair given to the entire field here in the 4 Wide Racing Cup Series. It's reset every single race, so it's one fast repair per every single race. And if you get into a crash, you can't have a clean race car. But the only problem is, if you use it as early as Austin Reedy did right now, you may be in potential danger of getting into another crash and having to deal with all of that damage repair out on pit road and maybe losing laps and be completely out of contention for the checkered flag. Field came down pit road. This time through it, Steven Stepien, your leader out of the stops with a 8.1 second stop. It'll be Lance Hill, Brandon Colley, Adam Alashire, and Ken MacArthur to your top 5 out of the pit lane. Looks like Ryan Taft in the 86, the only one to have stayed out. We'll see if he second guesses himself or whether he just missed the lane entirely. But Steven Stepien, your duel 1 winner, already off to a flying start in this TJ's Team 250 live from the virtual Daytona International Speedway. So as we're under caution for the first time here in the Daytona International Speedway, we'll quickly remind you that our coverage of the Season 5 4 Wide Racing Cup Series is brought to you by 213 Simwear. 213 Simwear offers fun novelty sim racing apparel with a variety of styles, sizes, and more for you to enjoy and rep sim racing on and off the track. Shop today and visit for more at 213simwear.com. So there's a look at the whole field. Lap 17 as Ryan Taft will stay out. And it looks like Steven Stepien, Brandon Colley, and more of the leaders. Lance Hill going to join them, make a second stop on a pit road. So I'm not sure whether this might have been a faulty call on fuel for these guys or whether it's just going to be an attempt to top off. Of course, this is our first caution, giving this field the opportunity to come down and maybe extend their fuel strategy by a little bit. And we have seen roughly 20 to 25 laps on a stint of fuel. Usually under green is good enough at these large super speedways. And so it looks like Hill, Stepien, and Brandon Colley in the number 11 going to forfeit all that track position, and it will hand the theoretical lead over to Adam Alashire, although Ryan Taft will continue his call to stay out this time through, so he does not come down pit road for fuel or tires, and Taft will be the new race leader once we get to the green flag at lap number 19 of 100. So we saw Ryan Taft involved in a couple of accidents in duel 1 and 2, hopefully looking to turn things around this time through in the main race, this TJ's Team 250. And we have seen a couple of underdog winners in previous seasons. We talk about Tyler Warner in the 33, making fuel strategy work to his benefit as that race went green in the entire last stint. Look at Austin Reedy, who led a phenomenal race to the end, was absolutely intense. And Reedy was able to take away his first win of the season. That would be his first of 2 wins on that campaign. And one that brought him deep within the playoffs and almost took him to the Championship 5 finale of the Texas Motor Speedway. And there are a lot of rookie drivers in this edition of the 4 Wide Racing Cup Series, so you can have that opportunity. Take a win at Daytona, lock yourself into the playoffs, have that relief early on in the season and be able to work on that momentum to build by the time we get back to Daytona Beach, Florida for the regular season finale. Pace car makes its way down to the entrance of pit road. Ryan Taft clears the Geico restart zone, and we're back underway. Lap number 19 of 100 from Daytona. And Taft jumping out ahead. It looks like Ken MacArthur not going to be able to pick him up in enough time. And Sanchez going to shove the 91 of Alashire to the race lead. Shane White, the 3rd car. How about 4th car in line? Kevin D'Elia in the 53 at the exit of turn 2. As it looks like the 86 of Ryan Taft just wobbled out of line. He's going to let the whole field by. And Alashire clear for the race lead back to turn 3. And look at the whole field, fan to the bottom. Kevin D'Elia going to be the only one to stay up top, as I believe there's a spin all the way in the rear of the field. Daniel Mitchell, no, Ryan Taft involved in it, and caution flag quickly out again, as the driver who led the field to green on the restart finds trouble at the exit of turn 4. We'll see what happened to the driver of the 86. Remember, he did get out of line, and it all started with that move on the back straightaway to get out of line. And we'll see it here. This is Ken MacArthur in the 97. It looks like just checked up, and everybody on that inside lane had to hop on the brakes. There's Lawson Peel making it 3 wide, and as the 86 tries to merge back onto the racetrack, you'll see him here entering turn 3. There's Cody Ivey to pass by in the 81. I think Taft has carried too much speed, caught the apron, that transition that could easily wobble the car, got it sideways, and just a single car incident, backed into the outside wall all by himself, and was able to gather it back up. With a caution out once again for the second time here from Daytona, and Ryan Taft, who had led this race, to the green flag out of our first caution. Already the cause of our second, as we are not even a quarter through this race, and Adam Alashire takes over the race lead. Looks like he's going to hit pit road this time by. Looks like a couple of drivers might follow him in suit. Looks like Austin Riddy going to head in for service. Tristan Bailey in the number 24 going to come in as well. And so multiple drivers already looking to change the game out on pit road and be able to potentially make it a fuel strategy race. That is, of course, if we stay green. We saw a lot of those cautions fly out in duel 1 and duel number 2. Green flag racing really wasn't a sight to behold. A lot of great racing, but a lot of cautions in between. And so far, it looks like it's been some of the same. We did have that solid green flag run up until that first caution, but again, a quick yellow could breed possibly more, as the field will shake up once more, and Joe Sanchez, your duel 2 winner, will be the driver to the race lead. Shane Wyatt will be to his outside in the number 45 car. Also, look at the driver who's sitting in P4 at the moment, and that's Kyle Benson. Started all the way deep in this field, and for right now, Kyle Benson is going to hold the spot inside the top 5 when we go back to green flag racing. Started all the way in 35th, and we know how good Kyle Benson is at these super speedways, most notably when he works together with Austin Riddy. We've seen those heroics by both of the Murray Reedy Motorsports drivers and those Chevrolet Camaros, how quickly and how fast they can be together. And so far, they have not found each other on the racetrack, with Austin Riddy struggles, and with Benson moving up to the field, Riddy coming down for service on pit road. It's going to only separate them further, and Benson is going to have to look for some more patience to work with out on the racetrack. Benson, a one-time winner last season, was able to make the playoffs in a walk-off fashion at the Kansas Speedway. Unfortunately, though, was not able to get past the first couple of rounds and could not make it back to a Championship 5 appearance, one that he did make a couple of seasons ago, back in season number 2 at the Charlotte Motor Speedway. And Benson, again, looking to turn the luck around. It looks like the debut of the next gen wasn't really the season for him, but he's gotten a handle of this car. He's understood it a little more. And with more experience, we could expect Kyle Benson to be a force to be reckoned with, and one of the more underrated drivers to watch for here in season 5 of the 4-Wide Racing Cup Series. And as Benson goes to the outside, he'll be in the outside lane, row number 2, and the field doubled up with the iRacing official pace car with its lights off, and Joe Sanchez in the 55, duel number 2 winner from 1 week ago, will be your leader and control car by the time we get back to the restart. Also to note, practically everybody 19th on back went down for service. That, of course, includes Adam Alashire in the number 91. Looks like his Trackhouse teammate in Colin Forrester will be there as well. Austin Riddy in 21st. Tyler Murray to pit as well. Tristan Bailey, Steven Stampian, Eric Schaefer, Eric Stewart, Jason Hastings, Ryan Taft among those to come in for that stretch of yellow flag stops. There's the rest of the field then as well. You look at Cedric Hunter, that pink car all the way in the back, the number 31 machine. Had a strong start to the race. But now these guys all forfeiting track position, possibly in the name of fuel strategy. They may be expecting this race to go green. The only problem is, if a crash does happen, they'll be at the back, they'll have to hop on the brakes, and they may have to predict what could happen. We've seen how bad that could go if one move is made wrong. So Sanchez, Wyatt, Benson, D'Elia, and Bishop, your current top 5, as the pace car will make its way to the entrance of pit road, and lap number 23 will commence in this TJ's Team 250. Sanchez will have the control, he will have the discretion, and into the Geico restart zone to the green flag. Sanchez with a push from Benson, and back under green we are from Daytona. And you look at the distance already between Benson and Sanchez. May not help at the exit of turn 2, as Shane Wyatt, help from Kevin D'Elia, will look for the race lead this time by, and they will even out heading to turn 3 in the back straightaway, as Benson will look to give the push, and Joe Sanchez looking to hold on. Wyatt with a bit of a wiggle there on the front end of Kevin D'Elia, almost about got sideways, and out of turn 4 again, another wobble, another miscommunication as they almost settled 3 wide in the mid-pack. Sanchez leads to the line this time through. Talk about the idea of teamwork. A lot of drivers looking to work together on their own teams to see if they can finalize a move through, as Kevin D'Elia snagged the apron, had to check up, and he rode on board right here. Jaden Porter, the 28, had to back out of all of that, and it'll give way for the outside lane to take the lead. Look at everybody shuffling through, and Adam Alishire looking to make it 3 wide for 15. Now making a new leader on the bottom. Sanchez tries to block through. It's Christopher Bishop, help from the 45, and they will try to recoup themselves back in. You see Chuck Keller, that purple car in the background behind Jaden Porter. Ken MacArthur there on the top, on the outside of Christopher Bishop for the first spot on the inside lane. As they try to settle themselves through, Sanchez being able to control. Benson behind him, Lawson Peel working all the way back to 3rd. And again, talk about that move to work with teammates. Talk about the idea of working with drivers here at this Daytona International Speedway, because at these tracks you cannot go anywhere without a bit of drafting help. It doesn't matter whether they're not your teammate or a driver you've never worked with before. You cannot make passes here at Daytona, and you cannot be the best if you at least don't have somebody to give assistance on the rear end. Many of the tracks on the schedule, we could talk about individuality as the caution comes out, but it would all be about teamwork, as a huge crash commences at a turn 4 that involves Jaden Porter in the 28. I saw Brandon Gillis involved in as well. There's Brandon Banks in the number 54 car collected in the mess. And the caution out for the 3rd time in our 26 laps run from Daytona. We saw Jaden Porter, roughly the 4th or 5th car on the inside lane, and now has to deal with more lost track position as the sophomore driver in his, really his first full-time effort, but we could call him sophomore based on the starts he made late last season, involved in the crash in that white Ally Camaro. We'll see exactly what happened. Remember, Jaden Porter was down there, saw a lot of checkups as well. We'll see exactly how it all began and whether Porter was the initial cause of contact. Here he is, 4th on the inside lane. That's behind Kevin D'Elia in the 53. Remember, Adam Alishire had tried to make moves through the middle, but it really started all up at the front. Chuck Keller getting into the 28 and causing the big stack up that involves Alishire, that involves Brandon Gillis. Tyler Murray again cannot escape the mayhem. Neither can Cody Ivey in the 81. Eric Schaefer to follow through in the crash as well. You'll see it here, the 45 of Shane Wyatt, I think, just got a little over-eager there with the 42 Christopher Bishop and just caused that huge stack-up. We'll see if we can find the way to get with the driver, the number 45. He is entering turn 3, and you'll see the contact happen as a huge stack-up occurred entering the corner. There's Jesse Prees in the 00, the 93 of Cody Kinsey also getting a piece of that. They seem to get the least end of the damage, but it's just that big crash that happens coming out of turn 4. And Shane Wyatt, the cause of yellow, he's going to come out of pit road this time by, as the field will stay out. And Joe Sanchez who will be the race leader once again, this time at lap number 27, doing a solid job and holding the field at bay, controlling the pace so far in the draft. And we talk about, again, teamwork, back to the point that I was making about working with drivers, and we've seen many teammates work together. A pure example, Kyle Benson, Austin Reedy, a part of that Murray Reedy Motorsports camp. We saw, especially last season, a lot of the teamwork with Stonks Motorsports, AJ Green, Colin Forster, Adam Alishire, among others, that all wanted to coop together out on the track, make moves collectively as a group, work through strategy together as well. A lot of these guys in communication with each other out on these Discord voice chats in the server. And they are all able to try, give themselves the best shot at winning a race. But oftentimes you see the opposite. You see a lot of drivers who aren't teammates try to work together. A lot of guys like Kyle Benson, who does not have his teammates out on the racetrack directly around him, but has guys that he's raced with before. So he understands, all right, if I gain the respect of these guys out on the track over the course of the race, they may be more willing to help me by the time I get to the end of the race and we have a shot at getting to the checkered flag. First, of course, it's going to be every man for himself by the time we get to those final 2 or so laps here from Daytona International Speedway. But the key is, of course, having help at the finish. A lot of times these races with these next-gen cars come down to last lap passes out of turn 4. So if you can get some help, any help definitely is going to be the best. And it's going to be way better than having absolutely nobody to assist you in that last effort to get to the race win. So caution out with the drivers we said were involved. Jesse Priest, Jaden Porter, Brandon Gillis. Among those involved, it looks like Rodney Roberts, who had fell 1 lap down earlier on in tonight's race, he is pulled behind the wall. So the rookie driver going to have a poor start to Season 5. Hopefully we get to see him next week at the Michigan International Speedway. Here's a look at Jaden Porter, who does not get the faster pair. And it looks like Brandon Gillis does in 35th. There he is out on pit road, but he already used it earlier on, much like Austin Reedy did, then picked up some more damage, and that is heavy toe link damage on the right front. So it looks like the journey for the number 9 machine of Brandon Gillis might just be over from Daytona Beach, Florida. So with this caution, it'll bring us a restart with lap number 29 on the way. Joe Sanchez, Kyle Benson in your first row. It'll be AJ Green moving into the top 5, I believe, for the first time tonight. And your season number 3 champion, Lawson Pugh, your season 4 champion on the inside of him. And then Curtis Kelly rounds out the top 5. He'll have Ken MacArthur to his outside. Craig Lownslugger, Shane Wyatt, Christopher Bishop, and Kevin D'Elia going to be the final ones currently inside your top 10. A lot of movers throughout the field. You see Curtis Kelly, Ken MacArthur, they were near the rear at the start of tonight's race, and they've made some nice headway. And the start, we'll see if they can try and contend with Joe Sanchez, who has been somewhat dominant all night long so far. Pace cars down at pit road. Green flag back in the air. Sanchez to lead him back to turn 1. And again, a good start by both lanes. We really haven't seen a poor start by either of them so far, even after the cautions that have come out. But Sanchez is going to get a nice shove from the 12 of Lawson Pugh, and out of turn 2 gives Sanchez the race lead. But here comes Benson back on the outside. Help from the number 48 of Green. And you watch the shove to the rear bumper, going to stack them up at the entrance of turn 3, and everybody on the outside, all with distance between themselves, as the tandem with the 12 and the 55 going to work together out of turn 4. They're going to block up top, and Joe Sanchez is going to lead the field back to lap 30 as Benson moves back down low with no help entering turn 1. And that's going to hurt for Benson. Absolutely nobody on the inside lane. It looks like Curtis Kelly, who was really the only one to possibly assist, has fallen all the way back. He's moved up top. Christopher Bishop and Cody Kinsey trying to work together on the bottom. And fortunately, Benson finds some space. Well, that will lose him some ground. He drops to 5th, and Craig Lownslugger are going to be the next one to pick up on his rear bumper. Top 4 breakaway into turn 3. You can tell just how more coordinated that outside line is. There's Ken MacArthur. They're 4th in line, so they're going to pick up Kyle Benson and company behind them. And Sanchez going to clear it away and lead the field. And easily, not as much aggression as we saw in that opening stage of the race. It seems as though these cautions have come out so frequently. The field just deciding, let's calm things down for a bit. Let's not be too intense for now. And we'll see if we can get a long green flag run win and potentially get ourselves our first dose of green flag pit stops. Here's a look on board with your defending series champion, Lawson Peel, giving the push to the number 55. And you look just how close he is on that rear bumper. And that's a possible concern at these super speedways. We saw it happen in the middle of one of our dual races 1 week ago, where if you stay too close behind the rear end of another driver, chances are you don't get a lot of fresh air on the front end of your race car, moving through the radiator and coming out to those louvers on the hood of the car. And then at that point, your engine overheats, and then you have a problem with even keeping pace with the rest of the field. That engine could immediately expire in the middle of the field, and we've seen how chaotic that can be. Once that happens, you drop a lot of miles per hour. Everybody tries to catch up, and they don't really expect the engine to blow up as it will. And then it could easily create a huge crash. But right now, Peel, who has been right tucked on the back bumper of Joe Sanchez, has yet to have any concerns this time through. He's going to look, and he's going to make a move to the inside for the lead with help from the 42. Looks like Peel might have been overheating or just might have been looking for that pass all along with Bishop on the inside. And it looks like AJ Green will pick up the number 55 where Lawson Peel left off and give him the big shove, keeping Sanchez in the lead back to turn 1, lap number 33. And in those dual races, specifically at the end, we saw a lot of the outside line fizzling out. Not many drivers willing to extend themselves up there. And we've also pointed out the possibility of a third line coming into fruition. Although with the way the side draft works with these NASCAR Next Gen cars, it's been awfully tough to have a potential middle line and have a third one in the mix as well, as Lawson Peel wobbles all over the racetrack in the middle of turn 3. And he'll be able to keep his placement, but not as close to AJ Green as he would like. And AJ Green, who assumes the lead this time as they cross the line, he'll get the big shove from the 12, and Sanchez now having to pick up the 97 back to turn 1 on the outside. AJ Green coming away with 2 wins in Season 4 of the 4-Wide Racing Cup Series. First one came at Richmond, where he stole the race away in green-white checker territory from his teammate Colin Forster at the time for Stonks Motorsports. And the 48 came all the way back to victory lane at this very track the last time we visited Daytona. And AJ Green looking to do it all over again. And this one would be a lot for him. It would be a first win for him in the opening race of the season. He would immediately lock himself in the playoffs. And what it would do, add some momentum to that 48's possible chance at getting a second championship in series history. Looked for the championship 1 season ago, was actually in that championship 5 hunt at the Texas Motor Speedway, but just did not have the greatest race in Fort Worth, Texas, and was not able to capture the title, with Lawson Peel being able to dominate the race at the end. And so AJ Green looking for a possible redemption tour, and for now holds control of the TJ's Team 250. Also have been noting there is a second pack developing, and we saw it behind Tyler Werner in the number 33, and it all starts with Tony Kimmett in the 76, has Eric Stewart, Jaden Porter, Cody Ivey, Austin Reedy, Jesse Priest, Tyler Murray, Eric Schaefer, Chuck Keller, among those in this group going side by side. And we could imagine this may be a possible alternative strategy for the guys near the rear, but they do also have to understand that if they stay too far behind that first pack, it may result in that pit strategy not working at all if we stay green, or just that opportunity for them to go a lap down, and that's the last thing they would want as you ride on board with Kimmett, the leader of the group right now. And so with all single file out, looked at that concern there that possibly they stayed side by side, they would only lose more time to the guys who are going double file at the very front. And much like we talked about the dominance of the high side, well, that has since gone away. And now a potential chance at a new race leader. Lawson Peel going to move underneath AJ Green, who gets moved out of line. We'll see if Sanchez follows suit behind the 48. He will for now. And Lawson Peel going to block up top back to turn 1 with the race lead in hand. And And one thing we saw about Season 4 with the debut of the NASCAR Next Gen car was the difference in super speedway racing. We saw with Gen 6, a lot of cars separated through the field, a big air bubble on the rear ends of race cars, not a lot of passing opportunities. Then that all changed once this Next Gen car came into fruition. A lot of closer racing came about, a lot of big runs came about as well, and then it just allowed the field to be way more aggressive when they updated the super speedway physics here on iRacing not too long ago in 2022. As Lawson Peel will move up top, he'll have AJ Green behind him, and Christopher Bishop on the inside going to fall back, and then outside takes control once again back to turn 1. The big difference, though, with Gen 6 and Gen 7, especially with this new car at super speedways, is just the way it's built aerodynamically. You look at that rear diffuser on the bottom of the car that we explained heavily through last campaign about how it shuffles air through the bottom, it sucks the car to the ground, but one thing it also does is clean up the air and allow for better drafting. So we've seen harped on by drivers in the sim, in this league, and even in real life in the NASCAR Cup Series, you can get to some substantial runs off the rear end of somebody if you have a run and you're right behind them. The draft is relatively large with these cars and most of the tracks on the schedule, and we'll see it again at Michigan, we'll see it at even some of the intermediate tracks on the schedule, just how big of a run you can get at these tracks with a driver in front of you, and we've seen that become a huge factor for super speedway racing. A lot of guys having big runs and a lot of times nothing to do with those big runs, so we see a lot of big hips, we've seen a lot of big swings, a lot of big hits to the rear bumper, and most of the time we do see some potential miscommunication, and that's why we see a lot of cautions also breed with this next gen compound as well. But those huge runs also can provide some single car passes. It could also just bring in crazy moves to the inside, outside, or middle in the racetrack, and that may be something to watch for once we come out of turn 4, around 2 laps or 1 lap to go. We'll see a lot of guys coop up together, get a huge one off the corner, especially if there's a checkup in the middle of the pack, and be able to sling ahead and potentially change the entire complexion of the race. You're watching the battle for the race lead, non-existent right now as the outside takes control. Peel, Sanchez, MacArthur, your top 3. Green tried to make a move on the bottom for the lead, unsuccessful, so he shuffles back into 4th. It'll be Kevin D'Elia inside your top 5. He's your first side-by-side battle as Craig Lounslager, entrant into the Championship 5 1 season ago, is going to be this time leading the bottom groove. And right now, nothing he could do but just hold serve and hope the push behind him is as good as possible. Take a look on the front end of the number 13. He has a big run behind him, and he'll look for 3rd there, contending with the guys on the outside lane. And that's Kyle Benson to give support as they head back for turn 1. And you look at who's back in the mix as well. Steven Stepien and Cedric Hunter, drivers we saw move back to the field. They came down pit road on one of the yellows, dropped all that track position, and now here they are once again at the very front. And Stepien, we saw him very impressive here at these 2 super speedway races 1 week ago with the duels, of course. Took away that first duel in a stunning finish by 2 1/1000ths of a second over Jaden Porter at the start-finish line, but it was no slouch even in that second duel. Was not able to get a higher finishing position, but he had already won duel 1, so there was really nothing on the line as he already got the pole. But Stepien, such a strong driver early on at these super speedways and being able to command the field. And the same thing for Cedric Hunter in the 31, a rookie driver in the 4-Wide Racing Cup Series this season. But that bright pink Hello Kitty number 31 is on fire to start. And you can imagine the momentum that could be carried into this TJ's Team 250 as he runs 14th right now behind Stepien in line as Ken MacArthur looks to the bottom with help from the number 13, but to no success. Outside, still with control out of the Daytona Superstretch. So a couple of cautions to come out to break the action, but we have been green so far since. And as we continue our coverage of the 4-Wide Racing Cup Series season opener in the TJ's Team 250, we'll take a short moment to step aside, but you won't miss a thing. Lawson Peel, your current race leader, over Joe Sanchez, and Ken MacArthur, your current top 3.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
Wanted the best, you got him for abreast, often imitated, never duplicated, the greatest show on dirt, the World of Outlaws! Dirt Racing will be available September 27th. Pre-order your copy today.
Back live from the virtual Daytona International Speedway as we continue through lap 47 of race number 1 in season 5 of the 4-Wide Racing Cup Series, and the TJ's Team 250 have a new race leader at the front of the field, and it goes by Steven Stempien in the number 8 machine. The whole field went all over the place on the super stretch a couple of laps ago. Stempien had a huge run and used the most of it, brought Cedric Hunter with him, and the 8 and the 31 take control of first and second. Kevin D'Elia, the leader, on the very outside lane, but had a mix-up with Lance Hill and Tristan Bailey, so couldn't do much with the run given to him. And Stempien, your dual one winner from 1 week ago, back at the front of the field. This time, D'Elia with a charge up top on Lawson Peel. And this time, we'll try to make use of this. Here comes the field on a pit road, and we had questioned whether we could get our first dose of green flag pit stops, and we do. Sanchez, Peel, Benson, MacArthur, and Kinsey, the first 5 to come in for service at lap 49. And here is really where execution is going to be key. That outside going to dissolve for a moment as that inside will take over, and as everybody looks for the best entrance out of turn 4 to their pit stall. And we are going to see a lot of these groupings mostly get separated and multiple packs form in throughout. It's a big thing at these super speedways. You cannot enter and exit pit road alone, because if you do, chances are you're going to lose so much time out of the racetrack. You will get passed for position, and you may, even worse, be put 1 lap down or more out on the surface if things go awry. The field up front will not look for pit road this time through, and as everybody who came down pit road are going to come out this time by We'll see exactly how they fare with the rest of the field. Looks like Craig Lounslugger, there he is on the back end of this one, but look at everybody else who have decided to come in. There's Sanchez, there's Peel, there's Kyle Benson, all three of them tucked in together and at least trying to make use of the draft. On the back straightaway, they've broken free from, it looks like, Cody Kinsey and Ken MacArthur back to turn 3. And that's going to be huge as the field comes into the third corner. And it looks like their chance for pit road may be up next. Stampian going to lead them out of turn 4. And we'll see exactly whether he comes down or who he comes down with. But nobody will come in. And this, again, probably turn back to that alternate pitch strategy they put in on one of the cautions as they get around Ken MacArthur. Looks like they're going to put him a lap down as he's broken away from the draft and may indeed catch up to the likes of Kinsey, Benson, and Lawson Peel, and Joe Sanchez as well. These guys pitting a little earlier on in tonight's race in the midst of those cautions have probably helped them out. Extend this stint a little more. We've gone 23 or 24 laps in the stint for a majority of these guys currently out on the track right now. And so for the moment, they're going to hold out their own, but a caution will come out before all is said and done on green flag pit stops. We'll try to identify officially who it might have been. We could suspect that it may have been Shane Wyatt. And the number 45 who was put it behind the wall. Looks like his race is done on his lights out esports machine. And the caution is out once again, as the guys up at the front will have a saving grace. We'll see if we can pinpoint exactly what might have happened on the caution. But it looks like nothing intense, at least not for the moment. I think right about, actually there, Ken MacArthur got tagged by Adam Alashire entering turn 3. Remember, Ken MacArthur, a lapped car there in the mix of this lead pack group. Getting the push from AJ Green. There's Adam Alashire who loses ground as Brandon Banks moves out of the draft. And it looks like Alashire just tried to side draft the 97 or either get in line, thought he was clear. And then bam, into the 97 he goes. CJ Munir gets packed in from behind by Tristan Bailey in the 24. And as MacArthur goes for an innocent spin, caution is out with a lapped car in the mix. And it looks like Steven Stempian and company will have the opportunity to come down pit road this time by. A huge development there, and fortunate for all the guys who did come down a couple of laps prior with Lawson Peel, Joe Sanchez, Kyle Benson. They were slightly ahead of the main group before the yellow flew, and now they have the opportunity to stay out and gain all that track position. So a rightly timed caution for all of those guys who were running 25th on back, and there they are, gonna stay out and take position up at the front. And that's going to potentially hurt Cody Kinsey, who was about to go a lap down. So there he is running 29th, of course, for MacArthur, who is the cause of the caution with Adam Alashire. He already dropped a lap down. He may indeed get the lucky dog, I believe. We'll officially get word from race control, but it was either him or, I believe, Cody Kinsey or Tyler Murray that picked up that lucky dog position to get back on the lead lap. And so MacArthur may be trapped a lap down as there's Tyler Murray ahead of the field behind the iRacing official pace car, so he may indeed get a wave around this time through. He may be the lucky dog, and Ken MacArthur may just be out of luck as Lawson Peel and Joe Sanchez take the lead. Kyle Benson, the third car in line, and a timely caution for them as Lance Hill, I believe, took over the lead out of the pit stop that time through an 11.4 second stop, and Steven Stemping, who had led them down, going to follow through to third, coming out of the lane behind Kevin D'Elia and, of course, aforementioned that number 1 of Lance Hill. So we talk about success in the 4-Wide Racing Cup Series, and if you're going to be talking about that, you cannot ignore the driver in the race lead right now, the number 12 of Lawson Peel, and how good he was in that Season 4 campaign. Took home 7 wins on his way to his first ever 4-Wide Racing Cup Series championship. His most recent win, that last race in the Championship 5 at the Texas Motor Speedway. Lawson Peel, one of the heavy hitters with this next-gen car, and one that pretty much came out of the gate running. took that first win early in the campaign, race number 2 at the Phoenix Raceway, and did it all over again at Las Vegas. Became the first driver to go 2 in a row in season number 4, as he got the win at Michigan as well. That'll be next week's race, so there may be a lot riding for the driver, the number 12, and your defending series champion, if he's able to get a good finish or a win here tonight from Daytona. And picked up another win at the Atlanta Motor Speedway. Did it all over again at Homestead of Miami, and won the Dash for Cash finale. And then got one at Rockingham in the midst of the playoffs. And then, of course, capped off the season with that win at the Texas Motor Speedway. An illustrious one for his 4-wide Racing Cup Series career, his first title. But we also talked about it with AJ Green last season, and we're going to have to do the same with the 12 of Lawson Peel. The pressure that comes with being a defending champion, because last season was his rookie campaign. Practically had nothing to lose. He could go out and do whatever he wanted and just ride that wave of momentum. But now, fresh into the new season with Drinkin' Bros Racing, and with this brand new car, and with brand new drivers in the mix, brand new teams also as well, you have to look at the pressure that comes with being a defending series champion. It almost bit AJ Green. Was able to get to the championship 5, but just did not have quite the success that he built on in season 3, where he was able to take that title away. And it's all on Lawson Peel this time through for 2022 and even parts of 2023 to run it back and do it all over again. He's got a lot of hungry drivers around him. We've talked about the consistency of Joe Sanchez, who was only able to pick away 1 win in season number 4 and did not show up as often, but is one of the heavy hitters that has taken it up to Peel on several occasions. Kyle Benson looking for a redemption year. Lance Hill looking for another consistent run. Steven Stepien, his first full-time appearance in this series. A lot to look forward to for Peel and a lot to watch out for, but he will have the head of the field, as he will bring the field to Green Flag Racing lap number 55 of 100, and already halfway in the TJ's Team 250. Solid start for both lanes, but that outside 4-car strong being able to take away P1 for a moment. Sanchez going to hold through with Lance Hill to give a huge shove behind him, but Peel's going to rally back with Benson to give serve, and into turn 3, we're back even for the lead. And Lance Hill, a proponent right now to the drivers in front of him, has been a solid pusher, and he has not led a line so far. And does he move to the bottom and change the game up? Right now, answer is no, and the Trackhouse Racing number 1 driver will stay back, but not Steven Stepien. At least he won't. Neither will Cedric Hunter. They'll move to the bottom. They'll fill the space behind Sanchez, and as Sanchez takes control of the lead, Stepien gonna look for it coming out of turn 2. And that backed up everybody up top. Tristan Bailey had to check up there with Lance Hill. Now Kyle Benson looks for hope up top. He's going to bring Lawson Peel with him. They're going to spread around the Daytona super stretch, blocking all over back to turn 3. And again, we're side by side for the lead as Stepien finds headway. And the aggression turning up 6 laps after halfway. And you can imagine how much it will only get intense. And here comes Benson to the bottom in his second and looking for the lead to turn 1. And we talk about the philosophies of staying in the front or staying in the back to avoid the mayhem. There's also that proponent of picking up the aggression once halfway moves through. We've seen a lot of guys take a lot of these super speedway races as calmly as they can in that first opening stint, or roughly around halfway. Then when that second half kicks in, that's when the real fun begins for them. And they immediately pick up the aggression. They pick up the crazy moves. And now as they move to the inside, they're starting to band together. Christopher Bishop, Tristan Bailey, Kyle Benson, Steven Stepien among those in it. And Curtis Kelly having to pick up all that space behind Lance Hill in the 1. And the shuffling will calm down for now. Lap car in front of them. And I believe that may be Shane Wyatt. And number 45 was gone back out of the racetrack. We saw him behind the wall a little earlier on in tonight's race. Once that recent caution came out, but it looks like the Lights Out Esports machine will just let everybody through and won't pose any significant danger. Will just let everybody by in the apron. And so the lead, of course, will still be Joe Sanchez and Christopher Bishop still trying to mount something on that inside lane. And that's also one thing that's prevalent with these next-gen cars. You get all these guys band up, most notably on that outside lane, and you can easily pull ahead by roughly 3 or 4 cars over the guys on the bottom. We talk about strength in numbers, how important that is. You want to have more drivers on your side, But even then, momentum can take place as well. Look at how the quality of the pushes are in between that group of the field. The level of checkups that we have seen slow down the field dramatically and has brought through a lot of bad pushes and a lot of carnage here at these super speedways. It looks like that outside, some of the best drivers we've seen all night long in this TJ's Team 250 putting their best foot forward as Peel again, once, twice, will give a shove as Christopher Bishop gets sent around in front of everybody in the field, and a huge crash, the big one at Daytona, and caution is out, lap number 59. Bishop was leading the inside lane and just got turned. I believe it was Tristan Bailey giving the support at the time. And the huge runs at some point create contact, and a poor push could cause so much. At over 190 miles an hour, we'll take a look at exactly how this all began, and we're right, Tristan Bailey, I believe just an improper push to the 42 right about here as Bishop slides down, Bailey goes up, and the 42 just gets turned right in front of the 71, who gets a hard hit. You look at CJ Munier involved. Looks like Daniel Micho also getting a piece of it as well. Please look on board from Bishop. Just right there, got tagged at the wrong place, wrong time. And we also mentioned the curved rear bumpers on these NASCAR Next Gen cars. How they can produce those pushes that result in big crashes. And right there, bumpers misaligned between the two Camaros. That pointy nose just digged in to the right rear. And around Bishop went slamming into Curtis Kelly, who had absolutely nowhere to go. You look at Steven Stempien, who also got caught up in it. There's the 49 of Jason Hastings, Craig Lautenschlager, among others. And that's a huge hit for Stempien, who had been performing so well in tonight's race. And now having to deal with a potential opportunity to waste that fast spare. Here's a look on board with Stempien. And just gets tagged there. It doesn't look like too much damage to warrant the fast spare, but did have a nice hit to the front end. So Stempien may be one of the many on a pit road. Indeed he is. And so he'll lift the jacks on his Chevy Camaro. It looks like the whole field will take a trip down for service, and Joe Sanchez will lead them out with a 7-second flat stop for, I believe, fuel only, or maybe 2 tires. Tristan Bailey out second, Kyle Menson out third. But that is a huge hit to a lot of the contenders in the field. And there's a look at Stempien waiting the time on a pit road. Jaden Porter, CJ Munier, Christopher Bishop, Ken MacArthur in that group as well. And it looks like all of them going to waste the time on a pit road. There's all of them coming out, at least most of them. That's the 82 machine of Eric Stewart. And there's the whole field on the other side of the racetrack. Chuck Keller going to stay out this time through, so he'll be able to lead some laps here from Daytona. Pitted roughly 9 laps ago, so I believe no second guesses this time for the bright purple Chevy Camaro this time through in the number 7 of Chuck Keller. And Joe Sanchez will have to settle for second coming out of the pit lane. So again, as we're under caution here from the virtual Daytona International Speedway, let's see if we can dial up the schedule one more time and see exactly how things will work in the rest of the Season 5 4Wide Racing Cup Series schedule. There's so much to look forward to, especially with the level of tracks that we will have over the course of the end of this year into 2023. Of course, we begin the season right here at the virtual Daytona International Speedway, and then we go to the place where Lawson Peel will defend his win from 1 season ago at the Michigan International Speedway. So we'll stay roughly in that 2-mile plus track range for the first 2 weeks, but then we'll shorten things up. We'll make things a little tougher at the Nashville Super Speedway, where rookie driver Jaden Porter got his first win out last season. We'll see if we can do it all over again, and whether we have a brand new winner in the Music City. Watkins Glen, which usually has a later date on the schedule near the end of the regular season, this time going to be up at the very forefront, so it's going to provide a very interesting look at the field road course racing wise. Las Vegas will have an appearance on the schedule. That'll be a night race. That's also a race where Lawson Peel went to victory lane at last season. Road America saw a stunning run to the end between Lawson Peel and Lance Hill. Lance Hill able to take that win 1 season ago. Then we head to the short track of Richmond, Kansas, the Charlotte Roval, Atlanta Motor Speedway. Still going to quite get word of whether that'll be the Super Speedway or whether that will be the old 2008 iRacing scan of Atlanta that we've all come to know and love. New Hampshire makes a return on the schedule this season. Texas will as well, but this time further up in the regular season, not the championship finale that we were accustomed to seeing just a couple of months ago. Circuit of the Americas finds its way in the dead middle of the regular season. Auto Club makes a return. Gateway, I believe, makes its first appearance, and so does the Indianapolis Road Course. You saw a lot of chaos in the real-life NASCAR Cup Series race over at the Brickyard, but not going to go on the oval this time around, where Eric Schaefer went to victory lane that time through. Iowa also makes its first appearance on the schedule, and Dover returns to the calendar as well. And then we head for the playoffs, which would begin at Bristol in the first round, Charlotte the next round after that to begin, and then Homestead at Miami Speedway, finale, and a new race date here early 2023. Still a lot left to go tonight in this TJ's Team 250, though. Under 40 laps to go from the World Center of Racing, and it is Chuck Keller, new race leader, at the front. Green flag back in the air as Keller leads him back to turn 1. And a concern of being too far out ahead of traffic. He loses ground, and here comes Sanchez with a head of steam with Benson to follow, and the tandem will work together, and they won't clear on the bottom, but they will easily take the race lead this time by as Keller gets forced 3 wide, and a bit of contact between Forrester and Peel in the middle. Now here comes Benson with a run down low, down slugger to follow. And a huge crash. That's Austin Riddy gets turned up into the outside wall. And the caution is out again. And a big crash. Chuck Keller in it. Daniel Michel, Steven Stepien, Lance Hill. And almost everybody involved. And the biggest one happens in the middle of turn 3. What a tough break for Austin Riddy, who gets involved in a second crash. And we talked about the concerns of using that fast repair so early on in the race. And it looks like that might be the race over for the 96 and your defending winner. There's Steven Stepien with some heavy front tolling damage. He still has a fast repair in tow, so he can immediately click that off this time by. But this race has easily gone sour for him. Into the final 50 laps. There he goes. Ticks off that fast repair, and he'll be good. He goes out roughly 2.5 second stop. But that is a large piece of contact for the 8 machine, and a huge dent on the most of the field's chances and getting to the checkered flag with a clean race car. So we'll see exactly how this all happened. Here's a look at Austin Riddy as he works to the middle of the field. There's a huge stack up there as they swarm it 3 wide around Chuck Keller. Looks like that's where it all started. The whole field just checked up, slowed down just because Keller got moved out of line. They were all trying to figure out where their lines would go. And I believe Keller just, went a little too low on the racetrack. And Austin Riddy could do absolutely nothing. They moved down the track into Cody Kinsey, into Brandon Banks, and Keller goes up into the air, all 4 wheels off the ground. And then they stack up behind them in another huge pileup. Here's a look again at what happened to Riddy. It just looks like Keller either tried to side drive to stay in line or tried to clear himself and didn't know Riddy was there. And then down in the track came Riddy and Keller, and then you just look at everybody else who come into the crash after the fact. Look at Ken MacArthur, who was involved in it. Eric Stewart, who was slowing down and got piled in as well. Here's a look on board from the 82. Stewart know where he could go. It was just a collection there. I think that was Christopher Bishop there behind him. Indeed it was. The 42 to the Los Angeles, California native, and Daniel Michel also caught up in the crash. And at that point when they stack up, there's really no space you could really make to be clear of it all. There's Lance Hill, who did a phenomenal job to break for the incident, but then came everyone else piling in. And then Hill just gets turned around, gets nabbed on both the front and the rear end, and then just gets an extra damage dealt by the 25 of Daniel Michel. There's Tyler Murray, who also got caught up in the crash. He's been involved in, I believe, 2 incidents tonight. And Lance Hill also having to burn the fast repair, much like Steven Stepien and like a lot of others in this field. So Austin Riddy pulls it behind the garage. His night is over in this TJ's Team 250. A huge bad luck scenario there for him. Looks like Chuck Keller going to be able to stay in this race. He has not been the fastest pair, but he towed it down to pit road after a monumental crash for the rookie driver. Looks like Ken MacArthur out of pit road already. There's Curtis Kelly getting some damage fixed. Daniel Michel, Tyler Murray, all of these guys looking to save their faster pair for later in the race. But it has ultimately caused a lot of attrition. And Austin Riddy, as he pulls it behind the wall, he is the third driver to DNF in this TJ's Team 250. He will join Rodney Roberts, who's 45 laps down, and Austin Bloom in the number 2 machine, who is 64 laps down and counting. I don't believe really made the green flag, or just might have lagged out and had issues. But that leaves Kyle Benson without his Murray Reedy Motorsports teammate. And he's had this whole race go without Austin Riddy near him on the racetrack. And again, just harping on that point of finding people out on the track to work with and gaining the respect of the competition around you. And that also leaves a good taste in their mouth by the time you get to the rest of the season, because if they say, hey, this guy raced me clean at the super speedways, we worked well together, let's just keep each other clean out of the racetrack, and let's have that mutual respect that may carry on to the rest of the season. Maybe it changes if incidents happen here and then, but for right now, Kyle Benson, the lone driver on his team, having to work all by himself. And with the bad luck dealt to Austin Riddy, his teammate, Benson basically on solo dolo mode. And he will have Joe Sanchez to his outside, who will be in control of the race when we get this restart. Lap number 67 of 100 into the final 33 laps to go in the first race of many in Season 5 of the 4-Wide Racing Cup Series. So the 55 and the 10, your first row. Tony Kimmett moving up to the outside of row number 2. He'll be 4th. Lautenslager will be 3rd. It'll be Kevin D'Elia inside the top 5. Tristan Bailey, Lawson Peel, Brandon Colley, AJ Green, and Colin Forrester. I believe Tyler Warner actually also in the top 10 as well. Green flag back in the air. Benson with a huge shot from the 13. And the field even back to turn 1. Thing we haven't quite seen is dissipation among the inside and outside line. Every time they get a restart, nobody wobbles, nobody has a mistake, nobody's really sluggish, and everybody does a great job of keeping themselves together. And how about Tony Kimmett in the number 76 being able to push the 55, a Sanchez to the front, and the first time we see the driver of the 76 up here all night long after starting in P30. It just shows you how quick things can happen at these super speedways. Kyle Benson, remember, he dropped to 35th on the qualifying order after the first 2 duels. Remember, did not show up for the first one, was there for the second. So it gave him an automatic last place finish for the average finish coming out of the duels 1 week ago. Tony Kimmett dealt with some of the same bad luck as Benson moves up top to block on Sanchez, and that'll open the door for Lautenslager to potentially take the race lead away into turn 3. But Benson and Kimmett both starting outside the top 30 and having a chance at the win coming to 30 laps to go. And there's D'Elia giving a big shove to the 13 and almost got him sideways there coming out of turn 4. And Lautenslager may have to watch his mirror because the intensity only picking up. That's Lawson Peel, Tyler Warner, 3rd and 4th on that inside lane. And that Hooters machine, the 33, the defending winner at Daytona from a couple of seasons ago. Remember the strategy that got him to victory lane within 15 laps remaining. Was able to be at the front and hold that ground in the midst of lap traffic. And Warner, who had struggled ever since that win, is now trying to find some newfound success as the car's around in the back of the field. That's Michael Newbraw getting turned. Steven Stepien in it again. And Jason Hastings, the 3rd one involved. Caution out, lap 69. Newbraw got tapped from the rear end, it looked like, by the 8 of Stepien. And it collects less cars than the last one. But the caution out once again from Daytona. We'll take a look exactly how this all started. This was running behind Jaden Porter in the 28. I'm not sure whether there was contact from the rear, maybe a checkup, or maybe just a mistake here by Newbraw. You see him stack up with the field, and right about there, just gets sent back as Cody Ivy checked up in front of Jaden Porter and just caused a huge sandwich. And there was nothing that Newbar could do. Couldn't anticipate it. Right about there, they all stack up, hits the rear bumper of the 28, and then gets moved by behind by Jason Hastings, and then Steven Stepien, just the innocent bystander in this mess. Remember, had to use the fast repair for a totaling damage in the last crash. And here's a look on board with the driver, the 8-year dual one winner from one week ago, your pole sitter tonight in the TJ's Team 250, and he seems like he cannot catch a break as he gets stacked up as well. And Newbar just comes right back up the track, the Drinker Bros racing machine, and Hastings also gets an extra hit as well. And Stepien, I believe, able to escape without any race-ending damage. But again, things only continue to get worse for your pole sitter tonight, as most of the field will come down for services. Look at Jaden Porter and Cody Ivy coming in, but so will the race leaders. And this may get them to the end of tonight's race from Daytona. We talk about possibly a 25 to 30 lap stint, or maybe even less than that under green. And with the cautions coming out, and especially this one at probably the most opportunistic time, because the opportunity for everybody to come in for fuel strategy. And look at Tony Kimmett with a magic stop out of pit road. Cannot take the race lead away, as Kyle Benson will steal that away from everybody on a 6.5 second stop. But Tony Kimmett weaving his way to third at the exit of pit road, and Joe Sanchez falling all the way back to P6. So Kyle Benson will take control of the lead. It looks like Ryan Taft will stay out for the second time tonight. Pitted 6 laps ago, so he may be, again, another new race leader. Last time we saw him out in front of the racetrack, let the whole field by, and unfortunately got into a single car spin. It did cause a yellow, but hopefully we see Ryan Taft be able to pick things up this time through and possibly keep control of the race lead, as they will all be single file and waiting behind the iRacing official pace car as we head in to our final 30 laps here from the virtual Daytona International Speedway. More to come from Daytona. Ryan Taft, your current race leader, Kyle Benson, and everybody else behind, trying to make sure they get the first win in Season 5 of the 4 Wide Racing Cup Series. Don't go anywhere. We've got more live on MaxSpeedTV.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series in officially licensed cars engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
"72 laps complete on our route to the end of race number 1 in Season 5 of the 4 Wide Racing Cup Series and the TJ's Team 250 live on MaxSpeedTV. Thanks for joining us on your Wednesday night. Kenneth Bueno with the broadcast booth to bring you all the action and to the final leg of tonight's event from Daytona Beach, Florida. On a restart, Ryan Taft had led the field through out of pit stops, but he gave everything by after coming down a second time. Kyle Benson, Craig Lautenschlager to the green flag with less than 30 laps to go. Tony Kimmett, the man down low, with support from Joe Sanchez, and he will surge to the race lead as they stack up big time on that second lane. That's roughly 6 or so cars up there. And Benson gonna struggle for a moment as Kvyat tried to deal the block on Sanchez, but it was all to no reason. Here comes Sanchez up top with help from Benson for the lead into turn 3. And Kvyat, the first time he sees P1 on the racetrack. And how about Colin Forster in the 99, quiet all race long and having a chance to take the lead away with Cedric Hunter behind him to help. But Sanchez, a big push from Benson will give him way out front for a moment back to turn 1. You look at just how consistent guys like Sanchez and Benson have been, especially in this last half of the race. And Sanchez, who had started outside row 1 after getting the dual 2 win 1 week ago, he has not let up in that cookout machine. And Benson, who had dropped to 35th at the drop of the green tonight, has been able to move up to the field efficiently and cleanly. And now second on that outside lane. Here's a look on board with the Toyota driver, Craig Lamslugger, one of the only Toyota drivers in this field this season. Really the only one is Rodney Robertson, the number 20 machine, the rookie driver who's out of this race, but in a sea of Camaros and Ford Mustangs into the final 25 laps to go from Daytona. Sanchez and Kvyat still going head-to-head, and Colin Forster, the third car in this group, the second one on the inside, trying to make sure he can bring the 76 to the lead and possibly take the lead himself on board with the 99. And now Benson moves to the inside for the lead, ditches the 55 of Sanchez, and with help from Tony Kvyat, new race leader Kyle Benson out of turn 4. Oh, and Sanchez was able to take the lead as Benson got wobbled there. The huge checkup occurred as it looked like Kvyat might have given a wrong push to the 10, made him slide a little bit near the apron at the exit of the trial ball, and look how far back that inside line has moved, and the space is all open, and here comes Tristan Bailey to the bottom to challenge for third on the racetrack. Haven't seen much of Tristan Bailey either all night long, and can acquire all of the success that he's built upon in the 4-Wide Racing Cup Series at these super speedways. Remember seeing the success he was able to use in the ARCA Series, most notably at Talladega, and now more cars join the bottom fray. Here's Kevin D'Elia, here's Jaden Porter to challenge against Sanchez. Sanchez tries the block, but to no avail. Kevin D'Elia to the lead, back to turn 1. And D'Elia with a string of good finishes in Season 4 of the 4-Wide Racing Cup Series, and potentially looking for his first ever win in the Cup Series. But Jaden Porter gonna look to snag it all the way on the back straightaway. He'll try to take the lead away with help from the 55. And just look how much that inside line checked up. A little miscommunication between the 24 and the 53. And it slows everybody down. In fact, one car on the outside wall, they're 3 wide. That's Colin Forster stuck in the middle. Eric Stewart, the one who tapped a safer barrier at the exit of turn 4. And now they dissipate on the outside lane. CJ Munier to take second up top behind Porter. And Sanchez weaves back down for P1. You could already tell how much the aggression is shifting up, especially as we close in on the final 20 laps. They know that this may be a last possible opportunity to make their way to the front. We've seen track position change hands so many times through the crashes and throughout a lot of the draft moves and the big checkups on both lanes so far in the race. But at the same time, you do not want to risk being in the back at the end and having a chance missed out at the race win, as the inside line takes dominance with Sanchez, Lamslugger, and D'Elia, your top 3. But now here comes Tristan Bailey. He'll have help from Kyle Benson, and they'll try to mount something, maybe a charge back to turn 1. And it looks like the Murray Reedy Motorsports teammates have finally found each other, Bailey being the third. And 2 Murray Reedy Motorsports cars going to work up top with Jaden Porter, the third car. Now here comes Sanchez to assess a Hughes block. Bailey does not move down in retaliation. He'll stick with his teammate, and Lamslugger will be the open one on the bottom to potentially fill that space. here comes Bailey. Move to the inside and won't bring Benson with him, but all by himself he will be. Can Benson fill the space? Answer is no. The 13 mounts a huge run back to the first corner, but will it be enough to give Bailey P1 again? And we've seen the huge runs be the benefactor of the guys up at the front. They can get those huge pushes, and if they deal with them correctly, it's been the opportunity of taking the race lead away. And the 13 with a huge gap and picked it all back up in a matter of a couple of seconds. They move around the rear of the field. That was Curtis Kelly, who went a little bit sideways, had to check up. Now here comes Kyle Benson to join his teammate once more on the bottom and takes the race lead away out of turn 4, coming at 20 laps to go from Daytona. And you look at how cohesive Murray Beatty Motorsports have been at these big tracks and the success that they've carried. Austin Riddy with a handful of wins last season. Kyle Benson only one, but it came at an intermediate track. But there's no doubt that these guys can really get together at these super speedways. And now Benson with the possibility to take his first win since Kansas of last season. And his teammate's going to move up top, make it a Murray Beatty Motorsports gridlock at the front of the field out on the super stretch. What that's going to do, open some space up and give way to that outside line, and it opens the door. Indeed it did. Munier and Forrester take hold down low, and Benson shuffles back to third on the inside lane. So a big move there by Bailey. It looked like he was anticipating Benson to stay with him, but the runs on the outside just way too strong, and a 19 laps to go. And now Sanchez with a possibility to duck down low and take the lead again, but he'll stay behind the 24. Porter will also follow suit, and CJ Munier trying to build up and take the lead. At least for him, it'll be the first time he takes P1 in this TJ's Team 250 as well. Just look at the run the outside line gets. There clears Jesse Freeze. There clears Cody Kinsey in the 93, so they'll follow suit to move down low. And that outside lane with a huge gap from Eric Stewart to Jason Hastings, roughly 4th or 5th on that lane. That was a huge move by Forster to fill that space, and it almost caused a crash. But we'll stay green. And remember, Jesse Priest, Cody Kinsey were involved in a big crash tonight, multiple times on end. Picked up damage. Jesse Priest had burned off the fast repair in tonight's TJ's Team 250, and now here he is. Had built up consistency near the end of the campaign last season, went through the playoffs and got pretty far through it, and a hip check there to Priest, assessed by Hastings. They're in the middle, 3 wide on the back straightaway. Boy, a huge move that could have caused a caution, and it separates the whole field as they're weaving through lap traffic. There's Tristan Bailey still in control of the lead, but look at the distance from third on back. We haven't talked much about lap traffic in tonight's race. We were almost about to bring it up when we were fresh off of the green flag pit stops, but caution flag comes out, and it looks like Craig Lounslager's involved in it. Yes, he is. In the middle of the trial, and with 17 laps to go, the yellow gets thrown once more. And we'll have another restart, possibly inside 15 laps remaining. And it looked like it might have all started with Curtis Kelly, who was at the top 3 wide. There's a look at Jason Hastings in that red, white, and yellow Buc-ee's machine. And right there, Hastings made contact with AJ Green in the 48, then got into the 71. Somewhat of a domino effect. You'll see it once more as the 49 comes up the track. Right about there, him and the 48 collide. And then as the 71 comes down the track, it's a big hit into the 13, who also gets a nice tap on the 54. And what a tough potential ending to the race. At least in contention for the race win it is for the 13 of Lounslager, who've been performing so well tonight and dropped back based on all the checkups that were happening around him. And unfortunately becomes the victim this time through on a caution. So with that caution flying out, field will come down to pit road, and this may be possibly the most important stop all race long. We did talk about the fuel strategy window, how it could go from roughly 20 to 25 laps, maybe even 30 if you saved enough fuel. But a lot of these guys getting extra insurance. Tristan Bailey having no problem out. of the pit stall. And we'll see how the race happens out of pit road. There's Sanchez, there's Porter, 1, 2, 3. They will not change. And mostly fuel for everybody. And this should get them to the end of this race on fuel. So no more concerns about fuel strategy. And we should just have a plain old race all the way to the finish in this TJ's Team 250. So Bailey leads him out of pit road. A couple of drivers did stay out, though. Eric Schaefer, going to be one of them. Defending champion Lawson Peel also going to stay out on pit road. These guys pitted roughly 13 to 14 laps ago, so maybe they could be in the spot where they can make it to the end, or maybe they're just banking on another yellow. Basically, everybody 6 on back once coming down pit road. The last one to stay out is the 11 machine of Brandon Colley. Haven't talked about his name all throughout much tonight. Started up at the front, but really has been a quiet driver through tonight. Really hasn't been involved in many of the crashes we've seen, but has been a driver to watch for on the super speedway, most notably in those 2 duels we saw him perform so well, short of the race win both times there. But Brandon Colley, a rookie driver here in the 4 Wide Racing Cup Series this season, has definitely put it to the rest of the field, and after starting 3rd tonight, he may be in a possible opportunity to take away his first ever 4 Wide Racing Cup Series victory. He's got a couple of drivers, though, just in front of him if he wants to make that happen. So it does extend the concern, though, how far these guys up at the front can make it on fuel. Well, just because they're not coming in, they're already 15 laps in. We're going to have 15 laps to go this time as we cross the stripe. It'll be 14 when we officially get the green flag on a restart. So lap 87 we will go to. Just an odd scenario there. Either have to hope that they're saving under yellow this time through, or maybe they're just hoping for another caution to come out. Here's a look on board with Schaefer, and there is a suspicion proved correct. Clutching and coasting for Schaefer in 4th gear. And the same deal could be said for Lawson Peel in the 12. So saving some extra fuel this time around. And that fuel strategy call may be enough to get them the track position they need for a race win to kick off season number 5. And both of these guys, by the way, Schaefer and Peel, multi-time winners. They were the top 2 most with wins in that last campaign. Of course, Peel in that championship campaign with 7, but Eric Schaefer not too far behind. It was 4 wins that he picked up last season, a couple of months back in this series. So both of these guys very experienced with winning. But then you look at Cody Kinsey, not a winner in the 4 Wide Racing Cup Series. Cody Ivey, not a winner in the 4 Wide Racing Cup Series either. Brandon Colley, a new driver in the series, not a winner either. Tristan Bailey in the number 24 can get to victory lane for the first time. Sanchez, it'll be another win for him, but it'll be a monumental one, especially after missing most of last season. Jaden Porter will grab his 2nd career 4 Wide Racing Cup Series victory if he can get this done. Colin Forrester looking for another to his tally. Jesse Priest looking for his first. Kyle Benson looking for another one. And just so much more on the line into the final 14 laps in this TJ's Team 250. As Lawson Peel, Eric Schaefer, inside, outside, will be the leaders back to the Geico restart zone. Pace cars down. Can we stay green from here on out? We'll just have to see. Schaefer up to the gears, and we're back under green with 14 remaining from Daytona Beach. Solid start by Schaefer, and it didn't take long for Lawson Peel to follow up in his train tracks. To the outside, he'll go into the rear bumper. He'll follow with Cody Kinsey 3rd in line. And now here opens the door for Brandon Colley in the 11 to have chase with help from the 55. And now comes into question, how risky are you willing to be with the moves on the racetrack if you want to beat to the checkered flag first? And Brandon Colley, the rookie driver, going to get a nice shot from Sanchez as Bailey got tapped into the outside wall, and around they go behind them. Eric Stewart goes sideways up onto the apron and up onto the trial. Will the caution flag wave? Yes, it will. Race control throws it. And again, the field will lay behind the iRacing official pace car, Eric Stewart, the main one involved in it. And just a huge stack up as Tristan Bailey innocently got hit into the outside wall by Cody Ivey, I believe. And here's a look from Eric Stewart right there. They all slow down for the mayhem, but they scatter across the racetrack And it gets Eric Stewart at the worst possible moment. We'll see it one more time. We'll see if we can get a better angle from atop. Right there is where Ivy sends Bailey into the wall. They all slow down. And that's Tony Kimmett on the brakes, who just came in too hot and got into the 82 of Eric Stewart. Here's a look at Brandon Banks, who was at the aftermath of the incident, but he sees it all happen. And right about here, where Eric Stewart gets turned around, and Banks already down through the gears, already on the brakes, and gets to the incident late and almost makes contact with Stewart as he travels down the tri-oval. And Banks able to escape this one of our Championship 5 drivers from one season ago. And again, this will force the field behind the pace car and bring another yellow. This may be the saving grace, though, for all the guys who have stayed out. Schaefer, Colley, Peel, Sanchez, Forster among those in that group. And it may just give them the opportunity to save fuel all the way to the end. We did see Joe Sanchez do this to win duel number 2 1 week ago. We saw him saving fuel at the end. Obviously, a lot of those cautions did not help as he had to go from restart to restart over and over again and wasting more fuel, and basically almost ran out. It basically ran out as he was crossing the start-finish line under yellow, and now forced in a similar situation along with more drivers. At least he's not the only one in this group. Now all having to clutch and coast and pray that they can make it all the way to the end. 12 laps is a lot here from Daytona. That's roughly more than 25 miles. Looks like we'll go one more time behind the iRacing official pace car. We'll be on our 2 to green signal this time through. And I believe everybody roughly 18th on back have decided to come in, including Jesse Priest in the number 00. There's Tristan Bailey picking up on the damage. There's Christopher Bishop, Curtis Kelly, Daniel Micho. There's AJ Green in as well. A lot of these guys with tough outings here from Daytona, especially some of the heavy hitters. You look at AJ Green, one of the champions from Season 3, not having the greatest night here in the opening race. And Daniel Micho, who had performed well in this series when he joined in Season 4, also has been having some bad luck tonight. And so many other drivers having their nights turned absolutely on the wrong end. Steven Stepien, your pole sitter tonight, has been struggling since being involved in a couple of crashes, and he's mired all the way back in P17 on the racetrack. There he is, rumbling behind Cedric Hunter in the number 31. Same deal for the 31 of Hunter, Tony Kimmett. All of these guys at one point at the front of the field. Craig Lounslager in the 13. All of them facing a certain caution, facing a certain crash that had nothing to do with them, just getting caught up in it at the wrong place, wrong time. And it all just changes the dynamic of the race and possibly the momentum for the rest of the season. As it looks like we will get the 1 to green signal this time by from the iRacing official pace car. It'll be Eric Schaefer in your race lead. Rookie Brandon Colley will be to his outside or inside, depending on what line Schaefer chooses for the restart. Lawson Peel will be third. Joe Sanchez and Colin Forster will round out your top 5. What a night it's been for Cody Kinsey, who's rolling P6. Got involved in a couple crashes, and his AC Delco machine has also burned off a fast repair as well. Same deal with Adam Alshire. Both of them have been involved in some of the wrecks tonight, but are all back in the mix inside the top 10 with a chance to win TJ's Team 250, as they will indeed double up, and we'll have a restart with officially 9 laps to go from Daytona Beach, Florida. We've already seen a lot of the crazy moves happen inside 50 laps to go, and now things only will get more intense. And then you pose the question, what do the drivers do if they really want to get up to the front, give themselves a higher chance of winning? What I do notice, though, we see 3 of the DBR cars for Drinking Bros Racing, all of them teammates: Eric Schaefer, Lawson Peel, Joe Sanchez, 1st, 3rd, and 4th out of the racetrack, all leaving Brandon Colley by himself. So we may see a potential teamwork effort here by DBR. Really one of the first times we've seen it tonight from Daytona. A lot of the times we've seen everybody on different teams working together in the midst of the draft. Not many times we've seen in this event where a group of guys in a team collectively get together, collectively make a strategy work, or at least just work with each other in the midst of the draft. That really hasn't happened. A lot of those guys getting separated. Really the only time we've seen it work efficiently was for Meridian Motorsports with Kyle Benson and Tristan Bailey. Now Benson is further back in the field. Tristan Bailey got hit into the outside wall. He's further back in the grouping as well. So Drinking Bros Racing looking to control the final 9 laps from Daytona, as Eric Schaefer will have control of the field on the inside lane this time by. And the pace car will make that journey back to the entrance of pit road. Looking for the Geico restart zone with 9 laps remaining in the TJ's Team 250, and with help from Lawson Peel, the Drinkin' Bros Racing teammate Eric Schaefer surges ahead back under green from Daytona. A bit of oscillating near the rear of the field, and only 3 or 4 cars on the outside make it a lot of space. From Adam Alshire to Tyler Werner on the inside, and that'll help Brandon Colley's case. He'll move to the lead for a moment on the Daytona super stretch, and Schaefer looking to fight back at the entrance of turn 3. There's Peel giving the push to the 3, almost got into the right rear once and maybe twice there, coming out of turn 4 as Colin Forster becomes the 3rd car in line. Now here comes Sanchez with a move down low. Colley tried to shut the door, and around he'll go in the middle of the grouping, and a big crash commences after that, and the caution flag waves again as multiple drivers are involved. Colley tried the block a little too late, and that may take him out of contention for the win in tonight's event. There's a look at some tolling damage on the left front, and he saw it happen right in front of your screen. Trying to make a move to block Joe Sanchez coming out of turn 4 into the trial wall, and by that time committed to the move. Looked in his mirrors. There came Sanchez with a big head of steam in front of Eric Schaefer. Colley tried to block. They both made contact. And Colley comes back up the racing track with Tyler Werner to give a hit. There's CJ Munoz getting spun late, and Kevin D'Elia getting involved in an unfortunate break for both of those drivers. So we'll see if we can take a look from Kevin D'Elia's perspective in the 53. Nothing he could do to get out of it, as he was caught up right behind Tyler Werner. Backs it hard into the outside wall, or rather the inside wall, coming out of the trial wall. And he's another one dealt with damage here from Daytona, as it looks like Cody Kinsey will take the race lead away. We saw Sanchez check up on behalf of the crash, and Cody Kinsey, Jaden Porter looks like they may have gone through it as the caution was waved. So Cody Kinsey becomes the newest race leader as we head into 6 laps to go. A huge development for Kinsey. And now him and Jaden Porter are going to look for the win here tonight. Kinsey, I believe, looking for his first. Porter looking for his second. And then it's everybody else. Behind him is, again, we'll have the lights on the iRacing official pace car. There's Brandon Colley breaking his car to pit road. There's Tyler Werner, surely to use the fast repair he does. And I believe Colley does have that fast repair in the back pockets. He actually does, so he hasn't used it yet. So the good news for Colley, he'll be able to bring a new race car in around 2.5 seconds. We'll see it right here as he makes a stop. Actually overshot his pit box by a large margin. That's going to waste a little more time. We're going to get the fast repair. Also going to get some tires as well. The jack's coming up on the right side. There's Shane Wyatt to go around him. And so Colley will lose all that track position. That may be a chance at the race win. Completely dashed for the rookie. So Cody Kinsey, your race leader. Jaden Porter behind him. Joe Sanchez in 3rd. And now it brings the question, what does Joe Sanchez do to get back to the very front? We've seen him make a lot of aggressive moves, and many of them have been successful. And it feels like that one really the only time where somebody has tried to fight back and bit the bullet. And Sanchez really technically his first incident involved in. Although he doesn't suffer any significant damage. It was just slight contact between his bumper and the left rear of Colley's car. But Sanchez, because he drops back to 3rd, he most likely will be inside row number 2 behind Cody Kinsey. And now how does he deal with this situation, especially as he has Kyle Benson on his outside, one of the more aggressive drivers here at these super speedways. And then you've got two of the Drinking Bros Racing teammates behind the 55 as well, Eric Schaefer and Lawson Peel rounding out row number 3. And then you have Trackhouse Racing represented by both Lance Hill and Colin Forster. They've been some of the quieter drivers in tonight's field, at least Colin Forster has been. And they really haven't made any aggressive moves. Do they make them now? They also have a third teammate in there as well, Adam Alishire, rolling back in that 91, a couple of rows deep. So many possibilities involved. But Cody Kinsey will be at the helm of the field when we get to green with roughly 4 laps to go. We are edging closer to a potential slide into green-white checker territory. We'll explain how that goes if we get into that stretch. It took us all 3 attempts in and ending under yellow in duel number 2 with a 30-lap race. How much different does it get into the final 4 laps of a 100-lap feature and with a chance at the playoffs on the line? Cody Kinsey did not make the playoffs last season. Jaden Porter also didn't either because he entered the series so late, and both of them with an opportunity to lift the weight off their shoulders. For Kinsey to get his first, for Porter to get his second, with a swarm of heavy-hitting drivers behind them in row 2 on back. Sanchez going to look for his first win since New Hampshire earlier this year. Benson looking for his first since Kansas last season. They're going to make it a couple of consecutive seasons in a row where they at least get 1 win in the campaign. And then come the multi-time winners from a couple of months back. Lawson Peel, your champion. Eric Schaefer, 4-time winner. But none of them winners here at the virtual Daytona International Speedway. Final 4 laps on tap in the TJ's Team 250. Kinsey exits the Geico restart zone to the green flag. 4 laps left from Daytona. And already, look at the cohesiveness between Benson and Jaden Porter. Going to work together in a tandem, but they lost a car behind them. Peel immediately drops down to join his DBR teammates, making it 3 cars in a row at a turn 2 on the back straightaway. And now here comes Benson to make it 3 wide. Jaden Porter gets stuck in the sucker hole with absolutely no help, and Colin Forster looks to push Benson to the lead coming out of turn 4. No resistance yet from the top as they exit the final corner. Does Sanchez make a move? For now, he doesn't, but he's got his DBR teammates to help. They're 3-1 in the back with Jaden Porter, and the final 3 laps are left from Daytona Beach. And how long will it take for Sanchez to move up top? Not long at all. Sanchez moves up high. Schaefer tried to follow him, but could not do it. And now here comes Benson. He'll split him through the middle. Sanchez will get stuck with absolutely no help through the sucker hole and will go 3 wide for the lead, and Benson moves out front to turn 3. And now how about Trackhouse Racing's Adam Alishire? Crashed in duel number 1, did not have a great duel number 2, and here he is, second on the inside as Forster moves up high, and we head for the final 2 laps from the virtual Daytona International Speedway. How about Cedric Hunter and Steven Sneppi back in the mix as well? We've seen Colin Forster be quiet all race long. Now is when he finally decides to turn up the noise. But does he hold the lead? Here comes Cedric Hunter to the inside, to the outside. Both of them almost making contact. They do, and they stack. Lance Hill gets turned in the middle of the back straightaway, but we stay green. They're 4 wide in the back of the field as well. Oh, and another crash. AJ Green, Lawson Peel getting caught up in it, and the caution flag is out. Kyle Benson getting caught up in it, so does Lance Hill. And we are into green-white checkered territory for the first time this evening. Unbelievable. And they all checked up. And we'll see how it all started. There's a look at the field entering turn 1. They were already 3 wide, and as Sanchez tried to recoup himself, he was stuck in the middle 3 wide for so long. Finally got out of it, but right about here, is where they make it 3 wide, and Adam Alashire just stacks in the middle. Isaiah Lee tried to make it 3 wide. Kyle Benson tried to block for a second, then got into Cody Kinsey, Eric Schaefer. And this isn't really the cause of the caution because they all travel below the racing line. But it's right here. Lawson Peel, he tries to avoid it. They go 4 wide, and as he travels back up the track, almost into Jason Hastings, right about where AJ Green is at, Tyler Murray, they both make contact. And then into Peel, into Jesse Prees, Curtis Kelly also getting damaged as there was nowhere he could go. And that's what's causing the caution this time through. And that takes so many drivers out of it. There's a look at Lawson Peel limping his car to pit road and everybody else to follow. And for the first time tonight, Colin Forrester will have control of the field. Cedric Hunter, Steven Stepien will round out your top 3. And how about Craig Lounslogger, Tony Kivitt, those drivers involved in crashes with under 50 laps to go are back in the race as we will extend this race by a couple laps and be in our first attempt of 3 in green, white, checkered territory. So we'll explain it right quick before we get to our next restart, as we'll try to assess all the damage that occurred to everybody behind them. Many of them, of course, trying to use their fast repair. None of them quite out of this race just yet. So we will get the restart with 2 laps to go with the field in hand from the 99 of Colin Forrester. We'll try to finish the race under green. If a caution does come out before the leader gets to the white flag from Daytona, we'll rack it up and do it all over again. Again, we have 3 attempts to finish this race under green. However, if the leader does get to the white flag and a caution does not wave out on the track in between the restart to that white flag countdown, then it will stay green all the way to the end, no matter what happens out on track, no matter how many crashes occur. And it's whoever crosses the line first that will be the winner and will take the first race of Season 5 in the TJ's Team 250 in this year's 4 Wide Racing Cup Series season. Colin Forrester, only a one-time winner last campaign. It took him 13 races to get to a checkered flag, and that came at the Chicagoland Speedway. So it has been quite a while since Forrester has seen a lot of thriving success in this league, especially after what was a fantastic rookie campaign in Season 3, picking up 3 wins in the first 3 races of the season, and pretty much never looking back, going all the way through the playoffs, and even making the championship for at Atlanta Motor Speedway, where unfortunately he was not able to take the championship. His teammate was at the time in AJ Green. But Forrester with a chance to rewrite history on his own terms and have a playoff spot from the very drop of the checkered in race number 1. But look at the competition behind him. Cedric Hunter, a rookie driver looking for his first 4 Wide Racing Cup Series win. Steven Stepien looking to take control of the race once again after dropping back and being involved in some crashes that had nothing to do with him. Craig Lounslogger looking to get a first win since Charlotte of last season to get him into the Championship 5. And then look at Tony Kivitt looking for his first. Joe Sanchez being the controller of the race all evening long, still in contention. So we'll run through the top 10 just before we get to the green flag with 2 laps to go. Colin Forrester, Cedric Hunter, your first row, first and second. Steven Stepien and Craig Lounslogger, 3rd and 4th to the green. Joe Sanchez lines up the top 5. Tony Kivitt there on the same row as him. Then comes Tony Kivitt and Joe Sanchez. Tristan Bailey got the damage repair after getting hit in the outside wall a little earlier on tonight. He's inside row number 4. And Jaden Porter will be to his outside in that same row. Adam Alashire, Jason Hastings, the 91 and the 49, the final 2 inside the top 10. May be the only attempt we need at a green-white checker to finish this race, and it's Colin Forrester looking for his first of Season 5 with the whole field right behind him. Pace car makes its way down to pit road. Green flag back in the air with 2 laps to go. Solid start for Forrester, brings him up high, and he blocks the 31, but Stepien with all of the space in the world to take the race lead away, coming out of turn 2 for now, not able to. Solid help from the 76. Now here comes Hunter to the inside, and almost got Delta chopped by the 8 machine of Stepien. It'll check up the inside line for now. Move Craig Lounslauger to second, entering turn 3. And this may be the last time we see the field catch. 2 laps to go. Hunter catches the apron, goes sideways, and checks up the inside again. Couple of drivers hit the outside wall. We're 4 wide out of turn 4. They're wrecking, entering the tri-oval, but the white flag is out, and the race is official. Forrester with the lead back to turn 1 on the white flag. And now with the inside lane gone, what do these 4 drivers do? 5th on back, trying to get themselves settled again. And now here comes Lounslauger, a swivel on the back of the 99. Here comes Joe Sanchez, help from Jaden Porter, and a big shove to the back end of the 31. They'll stack, and they'll almost spin, and they'll go around. Entering turn 3, big crash up near the outside wall, but Colin Forrester with one last shot to hold on to the race win. Sanchez, one more opportunity to end it, but he will not have enough time. Out of the final corner, into the tri-oval, Colin Forrester wins the TJ's Team 250 from Daytona. What a win by Colin Forrester after starting 19th and working his way quietly through the field. Gets the playoff ticket in race 1 and gets the first win for newly minted Trackhouse Racing in this 4-wide Racing Cup Series. There's Jaden Porter to give his congratulations. AJ Green, former teammate, as well, as they collide, entering the tri-oval. But an unbelievable ending for Colin Forrester, who we talked about had a lot of struggles in Season 4, could not get to victory lane, had problems with the next-gen car, and took some time to get used to it. But tonight it felt like it all changed. And Colin Forrester gets his first win of Season 5, his first in Chicagoland in last season's campaign a couple of months back. And a deserving win for the driver of the 99. There's Curtis Kelly to celebrate. AJ Green still there as well. But what a job by Colin Forrester to hold off Joe Sanchez, one of the strongest cars, all night long. And he's able to take the victory as he burns it down from the World Center of Racing. So Colin Forrester grabs the win. He continues his celebration. It'll be our time to take a look at your full unofficial results from this TJ's Team 250 after 1 of 3 green-white checkered attempts to finish this race. And it's Colin Forrester getting to the end. Into P1, it's Joe Sanchez, one of the strongest drivers all night long. Unfortunately, did not have enough time nor the momentum to get around the number 99 of Forrester, so he finishes in second, but still a lot of optimism to come out of it. Jaden Porter, in his first full-time effort in the 4-wide Racing Cup Series, comes home third. It'll be Cedric Hunter who comes home fourth in his rookie race. Adam Alashire rounds up the top 5. It'll be Craig Lounslauger in a P6. AJ Green there on the front straightaway to celebrate with the 99. He finishes in 7th. Tristan Bailey to come home in 8th. Curtis Kelly to P9. And rounding out the top 10 will be the number 76 of Tony Kibbett. A great race and a great rebound to the end, especially after getting involved in a crash. Kevin D'Elia finishes P11. It'll be P12 for Ken MacArthur, who bounced up and down through the running order tonight. Jason Hastings in the 49 picks it up to 13th. It'll be 14th for the 93 of Cody Kinsey. Eric Schaefer, 4-time winner from last season, ends up rounding out the top 15. It'll be Eric Stewart in the 82 P16. 17th for Lance Hill. 18th for league owner Tyler Murray. 19th for Lawson Peel, who got involved in a crash near the end of the race. And Steven Stepien got turned entering turn 3 in the final 2 laps and ends up as the last driver in the top 20. Here's everybody 21st on back, starting with Brandon Banks in the 54, Tyler Warner in the 33, then goes Kyle Benson. A strong race put up by him, a finish not reflective of what he did tonight from Daytona. Brandon Colley coming home 24th, Michael Newbraw rounding out your top 25, then CJ Munier, Ryan Tapp, Shane Wyatt, Jesse Prees, and Daniel Michel to close out the top 30. CJ Munier, the first driver, 1 lap down or more listed in the running order. Everybody 31st on through 38th all had Bad luck at the end of this one. Christopher Bishop 31st. It'd be 32nd for Brandon Gillis. Cody Ivey to 33rd. 34th for Chuck Keller. Austin Riddy got caught up in 2 crashes early on in the race. Really could not strut his stuff as a prime super speedway racer in this competition. Ends up 35th, 42 laps down. Rodney Roberts, a retiree earlier on in tonight after falling 1 lap down. He is 36th. Austin Bloom will be 37th, 103 laps down. And Brady Cox, unfortunately, could not make the green flag. So 37 cars officially made the grid. 38 officially are the ones to register in the session. So Colin Forrester grabs the win in the TJ's Team 250, and it will be our time to take a moment to talk with the driver of the 99 and get his thoughts after taking away the W in fantastic fashion and leading the field all the way to the end. Only 7 laps led to his credit, but that was way more than enough to get him to victory lane in this TJ's Team 250, the first race of Season 5 of the 4Wide Racing Cup Series. We're joined by Colin Forrester in victory lane. And Colin, I know this race was very quiet for you, not a standout in the front of the field, but just hanging in there and being as consistent as possible. But in those final laps, I have to imagine the nerves were high and the tensions were as well to hold that lead and be able to take the win.
Oh yeah, definitely. Didn't really know which line to go with there on that green-white checkered. Went to the bottom thinking that if I could get a jump, I could then decide what line had the better run, and the top had the better run there. And luckily we made it to the white flag. I seen there was a wreck, so I didn't know if caution was going to come out, but we made it. And had Craig pushing me down the back stretch, then Joe made a move, and then just a little bit of blocking from there, but they never really got back to me. Luckily I didn't have to throw any dirty blocks or anything like that, but super fun race overall. Super speedways are always fun. You never know what you're going to get out of it. Sometimes you walk away winner, sometimes you walk away the loser. And just a good race overall, though.
And started 19th in this field, so you had a good shot of what it was like to be in the absolute hornet's nest before you were able to make that surge to the front and near the final leg of the race. What was that like in the middle of the field? Were there any hecticness around there? Were there any significant worries in the middle of the field, or were you just confident in your ability to keep your composure, stay out of trouble, and be able to be at the end, much like you were in the final laps tonight?
I mean, I don't really know if there's a safe place at a super speedway, but definitely the middle of the field was the sketchiest because all the checkups, that's where like the main checkups happen because just everybody gets so stacked up, especially on that outside. But definitely a little sketchy back there, but luckily didn't get into any wrecks tonight. Avoided a few, and just made my way to the front as patiently but aggressive at the same time as possible. But a lot of fun and just good race overall.
I have to imagine that this win, absolutely huge. Remember last season, it took you a little while to get to victory lane. Chicagoland was where you picked up that to end up in the 4Wide Racing Cup Series playoffs a couple of months prior. But now, first race in, first win of the season, and you are already locked in. So how does that feel, and how much momentum does this give you and your team moving forward through the rest of the campaign?
It's definitely great. I mean, you know, I went a long time last season without getting that win, and I only got one. Trying to get a few more this year. I know it's a difficult league with a bunch of new people who are fast, but gotten better in these cars and got more experience. So hopefully the 99 will be more at the front, and just me and my team had great teamwork the whole race. I know some of us weren't near each other the main race, but we always tried to work together, and it worked out for some of us. Didn't work out for others.
Well, a huge win nonetheless from Daytona International Speedway. You're officially the crown holder of the TJ's Team 250, and I can imagine a lot of the optimism now moving into the rest of the season. But Colin, before we let you go, anybody you want to thank in specific for tonight's run and tonight's W?
Just thank you to TJ's team for sponsoring us. I know they're a great organization, as well as shout out to my teammates at Stonks Motorsports. Got AJ, Kevin, Curtis, and we got Austin. He had pedal issues early in the race, so he couldn't really show his capabilities, but I'm sure he'll be back and better next week. And also thank you to doing broadcast. Look forward to going back and watching it, as well as thank you to Tyler and everyone who runs this league. Glad it's back for every Wednesday, and really looking forward to the season.
Well, first of all, I do want to apologize. I listed you as a Trackhouse Racing driver, but I know there was a big change. I know you and your teammates in Stonks Motorsports from last season had shifted, so I do apologize for misidentifying the team. As Stonks Motorsports, still with a huge win. Colin, again, thank you so much for taking some time to talk with us. Congratulations on the huge win here tonight from the virtual Daytona International Speedway, and looking forward to seeing you at Michigan in 1 week time. Congratulations once again.
Thank you, Kenneth.
So that is the driver of the 99, Colin Forrester, who gets to the victory here from the virtual Daytona International Speedway. It'll be our time to take a moment to speak with the driver who comes home in second and arguably the best driver on the Super Speedway all night long, Joe Sanchez. 30 laps led to your credit, Joe. What went behind, first of all, this absolute blazing success from Daytona tonight?
Just trying to stay out front. I usually ride around and wait for the wrecks to happen, but I finally took the Dale Jr. mentality and just try to lead every lap. And that ultimately just kept me out of all the mess that was behind.
We were able to escape all of that. I know that there was obviously less cars up at the front by the time you were exiting turn 4 with Jaden Porter and company to get around the 99. But obviously, it looked like you were able to work well with no matter who was in front of you or behind you. You were able to make moves efficiently, very cleanly most of the time. And it looked like you were really gaining the respect out of everybody around you. And I want to ask, did the dual races help by any stretch that you were able to hold out front and control the pace of the tempo? Or was it really just learning throughout the race all together and just all culminating into those final laps?
I knew the runs are going to be massive no matter where you were in the pack. So, just knowing what line is going to move and when, and anticipating that line coming up to stay out in front. But the duels definitely helped. Ran up front for most of those as well. So that definitely aided in the success today. But I could take a push. So these cars you could really slam into them, and they'll stay pretty straight. So it's pretty nice.
Well, certainly, I know it's not the win here tonight from Daytona, but a second-place finish certainly means a lot on this campaign in Season 5 of the 4Wide Racing Cup Series. So now we move on to Michigan, another 2-mile-plus track, but one that races very differently with the low downforce, high horsepower package. What are your thoughts about that track and how you feel you're going to perform to try to get your first win of the campaign?
Michigan in these cars is really fun. It's high speed, a lot of on throttle time, but it kind of races a mixture of a mile and a half in a super speedway. So the runs are going to be just as big as tonight, and it's going to be tough to pass. So track position there is definitely going to be key.
Well, still second place tonight. Certainly a good finish here to end up at Michigan with a lot of momentum on your side. Joe, on behalf of our broadcast team here at MaxSpeedTV, I want to send you congratulations on the P2 in this TJ's Team 250 and wishing you and your Drinking Bros Racing team the best of luck heading to Michigan in 1 week time.
Thank you.
So that is Joe Sanchez in the number 55, finishing in P2, and it'll be our time to take a moment to speak with the Bacalhau Bueno Racing driver of the 28 of Jaden Porter. And Jaden, you had definitely had a fantastic race from start to finish. Started 4th, were able to work your way up and weave through the rest of the field. Just give us a perspective of those final laps as you were running 3rd behind Sanchez and Colin Forrester.
Yeah, that last lap was pretty weird when just 4 of us broke out from the pack. I don't know what happened behind us, but just the 4 of us broke out from the pack. And I wasn't like 2nd or 3rd, so I was kind of hoping everybody was like in front of me was going to get wild, but none of us could really build a run at the end there because there was only 4 of us. But yeah, it was a really up and down race for me. I started up front, stayed up front, got caught up in the first big wreck, and then never really found my way to the front till like 40 to 30 to go, and yeah, just crazy race.
Certainly a wild one to the finish, especially with these next-gen cars that are really added to that chaos. Really a lot of big runs, a lot of huge pushes. And with you, I know that necessarily you were in the middle of that. A lot of big runs, a lot of switches to the inside and the outside. So what stuck out to you the most behind the wheel in the midst of the pack, especially near those long green flag runs that happened at the end?
Just how huge like checkups are. I think a lot of the wrecks tonight were mainly because of how huge the checkups were. I think like 4 or 5 of the wrecks I was around was just because of the checkups, and that's just because all the huge runs we're getting. Just at some point we're all going to stack up because we all run out of space of where to go with the runs. So that was what stood out with me the most, how many checkups there were.
So I know that Nashville Super Speedway, the race that you picked up your first 4Wide Racing Cup Series victory in, is in a couple of weeks, but Michigan is next before that. So what do you think about Michigan, and what do you think that track's going to pose as a challenge for you and your team?
Yeah, I haven't really ran much of this car at Michigan, so I'm not really too confident going there. Obviously, I'm really excited about going to Nashville the week after, but I don't really know how I'm gonna do next week. I'm probably not gonna run that good next week. Still don't have too much confidence there.
Well, still, nonetheless, a third place finish here at Daytona in the TJ's Team 250 has to be something to be happy about going into Michigan 1 week from tonight. Jaden, before we let you go here on MaxSpeedTV, anybody you want to thank for making tonight's run possible?
Yeah, I'd like to thank a few of my buddies that were watching. Shanghai and Patrick, they were watching the whole race with me and kind of keeping me into the race. So thank you to them for watching. Everyone on my team, Tyler, for helping for just hosting this league. Obviously TJ's team for sponsoring this race. I thought that was pretty cool that they were able to sponsor, and I think it was really cool to have a sponsor. So thank you to all of them.
Well, we certainly appreciate the time, Jaden. On behalf of our team and our broadcast crew here at MaxSpeedTV, I want to send you congratulations on the podium finish here from Daytona International Speedway, and wishing you and your team the best of luck in Michigan in 1 week time.
All right, thank you, man.
So Jaden Port in the 28, his first full-time effort in the 4-Wide Racing Cup Series, and it starts off on a high note, P3 into the final laps, and that was a look basically at the finish. Colin Forster leading them to the tri-oval and held them at bay for his first win and taking the first race of season number 5. So as we've kicked it all off, it means that we continue our schedule with a head full of steam. And with that, we go to Michigan International Speedway in the Irish Hills of Brooklyn, Michigan, 1 week from tonight to continue our season. We stay on a track that's 2 miles or over, but way different package, low downforce, higher horsepower, and a lot more handling issues, which should provide for a fantastic strategy race and an outstanding one all the way to the finish. Nashville Superspeedway becomes the third race on the schedule, and we just continue all the way through road courses, intermediate tracks, short tracks, new tracks, and then we end the regular season at Daytona, close off the season overall in 2023 at the virtual Homestead Miami Speedway. So for everyone involved at the 4-Wide Racing League, for league owner Tyler Murray and everyone from the admin team and race council, and from all of us at MaxSpeedTV, my name is Kenneth Bueno, saying thank you so much for watching tonight's broadcast of the TJ's Team 250 and Race 1 of Season 5 of the 4-Wide Racing Cup Series. Michigan up next, but for right now, Colin Forster, the king of the 4-Wide Racing world, with a win at Daytona.